I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. I got love, peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, Fanfic Fantasy. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off the first part of our series, What If Tanjiro Became and Nezuko Became Demon Slayer? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is Noverp13 from ff.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. When happiness ends, there's always the fog of blood in the air. Nezuko, the black-haired girl, turned to the collar. The bottom of her hair with an orange highlight swayed lightly, though most of it was tightened into a bun. Nezuko, who was in charge of putting their younger sibling to sleep, smiled at her older brother's approach. He was a bit taller than her, with burgundy hair and burgundy eyes. A nasty burn on the side of his forehead was visible, a wound he got from protecting Urokodaki after he knocked down the family's brazier once. He was giving her a small wave, and wearing a pair of long rectangular earrings with a sun symbol, the only memento he kept from their deceased father. Tanjiro looked ready to go to town, judging from the basket of coal on his back, which was one of their family's main sources of income. As he arrived, he put his big hand on top of Urokodaki's hair, smiling softly. It's snowing pretty hard right now, so don't wander into the forest too far, okay? I can say the same to you, Nachan. Nezuko giggled. You know you don't have to push yourself today, right? We can just relax and wait until the snow stops. Tanjiro scratched his nape and chuckling nervously. Sorry, but I want us to have a great New Year's feast, so I'll sell as much charcoal as I can. He stopped and leaned back, sniffing the air with eyes closed. I smell the weather changing, so give Mom my blanket to cover her a bit more. She's stubborn sometimes. I don't want her to fall ill again, especially this time of the month. Nezuko nodded. She trusted her brother's nose. Her brother had an uncanny sense of smell. Sometimes the townsfolk compared it to an animal, though not in a bad way. The sister wished she had that skill. It would help a lot when she accidentally left the food too long and ruined their meal. It happened several times when Tanjiro was away and it was her turn to cook. It kinda miffed her that her cooking was not as delicious as her brother's, but you gotta have a weakness somewhere. It was fine, though. She may not have the nose of a cat, but she does have another ability that is as baffling as her brother's. The dark blue fog flew past her red eyes. Ah, I see it too, Nezuko mumbled. Looks like today's weather will be a lot colder tonight. She can see the colors of the world. Every living creature has its own color. She could see them as a form of a fog that reaches out of their body like a string of fate. It was always so amazing to see tons and tons of colors weaving around like a beautiful rainbow, although it was overwhelming at first when she realized she had this kind of skill. Nezuko was sure Tanjiro experienced the same problem when he first got his sense of smell, so overwhelming that he had been on the verge of vomiting, until their father taught him how to control it. Her brother then taught her how to control it too, so she can appreciate the beautiful craftsmanship of a living being. It may not be as instantaneous as her brother's nose was, but it brightened her world anyway. Yeah, please take care of Mom if I'm coming home late. Tanjiro grinned as he walked away. I'll bring you guys some mochi for a snack tonight. Secure a mochi for you. Thanks a lot, Nachan. She gave him her own grin. Come back home soon, okay? He raised his hand and gave a small wave without turning his back. Nezuko, after being surrounded by her other younger siblings asking her to play with them, stepped into the house. She lay Urokodaki on the futon and approached her mother, who was knitting the unfinished kimono while lightly coughing whenever she stopped to take a breath. Nezuko's eyebrows furrowed in worry. Their mother was a seamstress, another job that helped them gain money for their daily necessities. However, her mother's health had been going downhill this year, especially this time of the season where snow enveloped the whole mountain they lived on. Nezuko offered to take the job, as it was also her hobby anyway. Watching her mother's hands handle the thread, weaving it into the pretty clothes was calming. But of course, as always, her mother refused to. Oh no, that's okay. I can finish this on my own. She craned her neck. Where's your brother? Is he already gone? Yes, just now. Really? And I wanted to ask him for a delivery too. She rummaged the drawer and pulled out 5 bundles of kimonos and yukatas. I've finished them, so I want to send it to our customer as soon as I can. Especially since one of them asked for a shiramuku for their wedding a week from now. I can deliver it to them, Mom. Nezuko proposed. Are you sure? She asked for confirmation, letting out a small cough that tightened Nezuko's resolve. Yup. The girl smiled, reaching out to take the bundle and cradling it in her embrace. Don't worry, I'll try to seek out Nichin so we can go home together. The worry is still palpable on her mother's pale face as Nezuko changed her kimono into an easy-to-move yukata. Yet she knew she could not stop her, seeing the fire inside her red eyes, burning like an inferno. She sighed. It was not just the mother, but her children were just as stubborn as she was, especially the eldest two. She didn't let go before she gave her daughter a peck on her cheek, wishing her good luck and to be careful. Nezuko hummed as she trekked down the mountain. It's been a while since she visited the town. She usually restrained herself to only help around the house, taking care of the younger kids to lighten her mother's work when their father had fallen ill, and now was long gone. She cannot help but feel excited to see the changes in town, even if it was just small changes. Maybe she could also buy some souvenirs for mom and younger siblings. Tanjiro promised to buy them some snacks so she could buy a little trinket if it wasn't too expensive. A hair clip or maybe socks. Mom said it's okay to use some cash. It's a new year so they can splurge a little bit, especially with Tanjiro's promise to bring another bundle of coins back. Their brother was always true to his promises. When he said he would sell the charcoal till there was no more left, he'd do it, even if he had to circle the town for a second or third time. The town was as bustling as she remembered, and the townsfolk were just as charming as she remembered, too. Some of the snack stores invited her to sample their wares. She accepted one dango and refused another because she wanted to prepare her tummy for the New Year's feast. And the mochi that Tanjiro would buy too. That didn't mean she refused to talk with them, however, especially with how nice they were and how delighted the kids were to see her again. So, to her shame, she wasted a lot of time, not because she failed to deliver the packages to the customers, but from conversing with said customers instead. Before she knew it, it was already night and she hurried her steps on the way home. A shout from somewhere halted her, though. Nezuko, a man in his 30s, exclaimed from the window, calling her before she could scale the mountain up. What are you doing, walking around at night? It's dangerous up there. Oh, Sabiru-san. It's okay. I can see the color of my family from here, she said. It was not a secret from the townsfolk that Kamado's family, or to be exact, 3 of the family, one of them already up in heaven, have their own unique abilities, such as Tanjiro. Hers may not be as much of a help, but for example, they asked her brother to search for a thief based on the smell that was lingering on the plate they broke one time. With his help, the culprit was caught within a day and he was paid for it. Call it a side job, he said. As long as it's legal, he doesn't mind using his ability to help people in need. But they had fun playing Guess Who with her ability whenever new people come into town, and they want to show off a little trick. I can use that as a guide so I will not get lost. No, you can stay here, please. Come back. But, it's all right. You're welcome here. He sounded desperate, face pale and eyes bulging. You don't want to run into any demons. So there she was, in the cozy house of her neighbor. Nezuko ate the dinner the man prepared as she listened to his story. He said he saw Tanjiro just an hour ago, coming home a bit earlier than expected. Sounded like he managed to sell the goods with one trip. He was ready to call out for him to stay. However, her brother was too quick on his feet and before Sabiru knew it, he had already blended within the thick forests. He thought it was okay though, as the light was still out and he hoped Tanjiro arrived at home before sunset. But that was not the case for Nezuko, who was clearly walking around when the light was already out, so Sabiru immediately called for her before it was too late. He told her that for ages, man-eating demons had roamed these woods after dark. Even for a paranoid warrior, the beasts were dangerous and they can creep up upon their prey without being noticed. Nezuko thought that it was just a myth, something parents tell to scare children so they don't wander around at night without supervision. Next time when Tanjiro goes down the mountain, maybe I can ask him to bring us along. She mused as she tightened the blanket around her body and closed her eyes. There's no need to fear. There's no such thing as demons in the first place, anyway. But now that I think of it, our grandmother said the same thing before she died. Nezuko bid him goodbye when the morning came, thanking him for his hospitality and promising to not stay out too late. She hummed along the way, clutching the box that contained the hairpin and pair of socks that she promised to buy as souvenirs. Yesterday was a great day. She couldn't wait for the feast and for other good memories to remember during the next year. But she didn't realize. She stopped short, orbs widened and pupils dilated. When happiness ends, there was always. A red fog passed. A lot of red fog. It was different from her family's red line. It was different from her mom's gentle red or her brother's calming red. This one is too red, too sickly, too horrifying. How could such a beautiful color be this disgusting? There was a fog of blood in the air. Nezuko stood frozen when she saw her brother slumped, protecting Rokuta's fragile body with his own bloodied one. This red fog is the red fog of death. Niichan. Nachan. What the ag? She ran towards the bodies, grasping at his crumpled yukata. She accidentally brushed over Rokuta's skin. Cold. Cold. It was too cold, and she jerked her fingers back in horror. What happened? She made a mistake and glanced at the inside of the house, past the ruined, crooked door. Nezuko could never forget the sight. It was forever literally burned into her mind. Red, red, red everywhere. How could her favorite color, the color of their family, look so grotesque like this? How could her favorite color, the color of their happy family, look so devastating like this? The corpses of her family were the cause of that. Mother, Hanako, her lips trembled. Takeo, Shidru, her teeth were chattering. Nachan, Rokuta, what happened? Only Nachan's body was still warm. Maybe a doctor can save him. She carried him on the cart her brother usually used to pull Hanako and Shidru whenever they followed him to the city. She tucked his body inside the thick blanket, trying to maintain his body heat as much as possible. How did this happen? A bear? Maybe a bear too hungry to hibernate. She huffed and puffed, not used to pulling the weight of someone who was bigger than her, especially as her brother's muscle mass weighed the whole cart down, a figure he developed after scaling the mountain up and down every day. She almost tripped, but she managed. She had to manage, because her brother's life was on the line. Her only living family was on the verge of dying. Here, so hard to breathe. The snow has been pouring since last night. The air is so cold, it's freezing my lung. Keep going, keep going. Move your feet faster. Tanjiro's finger twitched. I won't let you die, Nachan. I will. There was a rustle from the forest below. A pair of legs were running between the bushes at top speed. A tear fell down from her puffy eyes. The brother stood up from the cart, hands reaching toward his sister's unsuspecting back, iris and pupil gone, leaving whites clear enveloping the usual red orbs that were now gone, gone, gone. I will save you. SLEASSH. BOUM. Roll. Roll. WHOMP. She didn't know what happened. One moment, she was dragging the cart with her older brother inside it. In the next second, a sharp wind passed over the top of her, managed to cut her hair tie and make her tight bun fall down. She was pretty sure it cut some strands like a fine razor blade, too. But it was a clump of red strands. It's not black. It's not my hair. A big pair of warm arms wrapped around her shivering body and pulled, yanking her away from the dangerous gust and, unfortunately, sending them careening into the forest below. Now, she was on her back, watching the clouds go by, heart hammering like crazy, and sweat after sweat dripped from her forehead like a gushing waterfall. The snow saved me, she coughed. Thank God, the snow saved me. But wait, where's Nachan? She got up, head swiveling right and left, her breath quickening in panic. Nachan, where is this your Nachan? Nezuko gasped, unconsciously stepping back a little at the harsh tone of a stranger that suddenly reached her hearing. It was a man with black hair, wearing the same black uniform along with unique haori that was clear it was two cloths stitched into one. The right side is dark red in color while the left side is green and yellow in color, crisscrossed in a complex pattern. There's a katana clasped in his right hand, and in the opposite palm is Nachan, she shouted, and took a large step to reach them, but the man held his sword in a warning manner, and she stopped. Nezuko saw her brother struggling in the stranger's grip, trying to free himself. Not wanting to worsen the situation, she gulped and said, why yes, that's my Nachan. He's ... he's hurt. I have to bring him to the doctor, so please. He's not hurt. He cut her off. Those blank orbs unnerved her to no end, and he kept talking. Are you so absent-minded you don't even realize what your brother has become? What? Look closely. He snatched Tanjiro's chin and forced him to look upward. Look at him and tell me if he is still your brother. Nezuko's breath hitched. Fangs, nerves bunched around his forehead like a crazed beast. Those warm burgundy eyes that she loved so much turned into dull ginger. Even now as they were talking, the beautiful burgundy locks started fading, turning into a sad reddish brown. She hated it, she hated it, she hated it. Why? What happened? What happened to her precious older brother that turned him so drastically like Thigh? Old man Saburo's words rang through her head. Demon. Man-eating demon. But ... but Nachan has been human. It was only a glimpse of memories, forgotten because she was still a baby. Yet she knew the young face of her brother when he leaned over her, playing with her, making silly sounds to make her laugh. Nachan has been human, has always been human. And no, your brother is a demon. Maybe the one who actually killed your family. No, don't you dare say that, Nezuko exclaimed. Her heart quickened even more, almost hammering into her ribcage like a festival drum. Nichin would never do that. There's no blood on his hands. Or her mouth. He didn't kill anyone. He will not kill anyone. Yet you knew he jumped on you. No, there's no way that Nezuko stopped when she remembered the incident seconds ago. You are the culprit, right? She stammered. You're the one who cut my hair tie and Nichin's hair. You attack us. I'm just trying to kill the demon. Yeah, but you're way off, and that's why Nichin tackled me. He was trying to save me from your attack. Besides, I saw it. She waved her hands in desperation. I saw another thread hanging around our house. A black fog so black, Nezuko felt like she was staring right into the abyss. That thread. That must be the thread from the real culprit. Not Nichin. I don't know what's making him act like this, but that's easy. He interrupted her for the second time. Demon blood got in his wound, so he's transformed into a demon. She felt her head spin. For such a thing to happen, while she was safely asleep in town, something horrible happened. Happened to her whole family. How they must have suffered. And I wasn't there to help them. Wasn't there to save even a single one of them. Except she did. There's her brother. Demonic and growling like a scared creature, but alive nonetheless. With a sword now pointed at his neck. No, what are you doing? Nezuko took another step, not caring about how deadly the stranger's gaze was. He's a demon. And I'm a demon slayer. It's my job to banish his kind from this world before he kills another human. But I'm sure there's a way to turn him back. There must be. He never killed anyone, so that doesn't mean anything. His voice was harsh. It reverberated through the woods. I can't keep a demon alive based on your word alone. Little did I know, the moment I left you with him, he's too hungry to even recognize you as his sister. He will eat you in your sleep and wander into town to eat other unfortunate humans. Weakness and empty promises cannot protect your brother or find him a cure. He raised his katana, lips thinned. And they certainly cannot avenge your family. He swung the sword down and SHHINNKKK planted it deep into Tanjiro's left shoulder. NOOO. Two things happened in a mere second. The girl bellowed and clasped her finger around a rock that was buried under the snow, throwing it at him as hard as her fragile arm could take. He evaded it easily. The other one was, the demon brother let out his own scream. His body suddenly grew to twice the height of a teenager, and now was as big as an adult, loosening his grip on the demon's wrist without consent at the same time. The brother squatted a bit lower, turned his body a little to the side before he used his leg to kick him away. This time the demon hunter couldn't dodge it with how close they were, and could only shift his body a little bit, or else the kick will land on his rib and crack them good. Then the brother sped up towards the girl. No, he skidded to a halt. I'm too far away. He's going to eat her. Before he scooped the crying little sister up in a bridal style and ran in the opposite direction, away from the baffled swordsman. It was weird, to say the least. A starving demon would kill and eat their own parents and siblings because they needed energy. He'd seen it countless times. That boy was injured. It cost his strength to heal that wound. Not to mention the strength it took to transform into a demon. He must have been doubly starved right then, and want to eat human flesh as soon as possible, right there and then, even if it's just a little bit. But he ran away from me, focusing on his sister and bringing her away to safety. No way. Maybe the demon just wanted to find a hidden place to eat the human. No beast will feel safe to consume their meal if a demon hunter was clearly circling them. That must be the real reason why. So, tightening the muscles on his knee, he sped toward them like an eagle spotting their prey. He chased after them, gaze hardened in determination. When he was right behind the demon, sword ready to cut his head off though, the girl popped up from behind the brother's shoulder. With gritted teeth and eyebrows furrowed, she produced another stone and threw it at him. He ducked. What the hell is that girl doing? He growled. Doesn't she realize that her life is in danger? She must have not, because, at the next second, she threw him another one. He evaded two of the stones, but deflected the third one with his weapon, and angled it directly at her brother's ankle. GRAH. The shock of something sharp knocked the demon off balance, tumbling them both into the snow. They rolled for a whole 5 seconds, scattering the snow into the air. He thought he heard a loud crack, and judging how the sister's scream cut off, a hidden stone beneath the snow must have hit her head or something and rendered her unconscious. The swordman hoped it was only a concussion and not a fatal wound. They came to a stop as he drew his breath. He stood over them with pity clearly directed toward the sleeping girl. He understood, he did. Her family is dead and her brother had become a demon. Her heart was crushed. He knew her pain, how she must have wanted to cry out and rage at the world for the unfairness of it all. I should kill her brother now before she wakes up. he thought, as he reached for his body and tried to turn him a bit away from the collapsing girl. Strange that the demon curled around her body like a ball, minimizing their impact as much as he could. But why? He would understand if it was just for his safety. But the form he took was clear that he was trying to do the same to the girl, like he was trying to prot. He jumped back when sharp claws swung right in front of his face, grazing his nose a bit and cutting a strand of his hair. The demon woke up, he cursed. The hunter was crouched low and his stance was ready to unleash one of the skills his mentor taught him, but ... TECT. He stopped short when he heard the demon growled. Did he just ... talk? Pro ... TECT ... The demon hissed. Protect ... fa ... MILY ... I ... will ... pro ... TECT ... NEZUKO. The swordsman's eyes widened. Nachin, not Nachin. The girl's desperate voice echoed through his ears like he really heard a second sound. As he saw the brother standing in front of the fallen girl, fangs bared and orbs popped. His hands were spread to the side, protecting his little sister's unconscious form from the befuddled stare of the demon slayer, shielding her from her supposed attacker. Nachin would never eat anyone. So when I saw her brother running away from me, bringing her along, that was true. It was not my imagination. The demon made a leap. He really did try to protect her. As the demon bounced from tree to tree and got ready to tackle him head-on, he sheathed his sword and raised his open palm, intended to chop on his neck and knock him out. These two may be different. Whack. It was dark without light. Nezuko lay in the middle of the darkness, fainted. Her family, mother, Hanako, Takeo, Shidru, Rokuta, came by and sat beside her, one by one. Their expressions were scrunched up, worried about how fragile their robust sister looked. Her mother, her precious, precious mother leaned over her and whispered, "I'm sorry I had to leave you, Nezuko." Her voice sounded so sad. Her eyes looked so sad. She smiled, wry and regretful but full of hope. "Please take care of your brother for us. No, don't leave me." Her hand reached out. Don't leave me, my dear mother." Grasp. Her eyes opened, and realized her fingers managed to curl around her brother's yukata. Nezuko puffed, tears rolling down from her reddened eyes. Her brother is there, unconscious yet alive. She saw the fangs behind Tanjiro's parted lips, reminding her that, yes, it wasn't a dream. It wasn't all a bad dream. Her family is dead and her only alive brother was turned into a demon. Why? You're awake. Nezuko flinched as she saw the man from before, the demon slayer, peeking around the tree and watching them with blank eyes. She scrambled up, hugging her brother close and away from the swordsman even though she knew the action was futile. She remembered how fast he moved, even with her brother's monstrous strength as he ran away from him minutes ago. She knew he could kill her only family without mercy, without her even knowing. But damn it, she would try anyway. The man didn't move, he just kept talking. "Do you really want to cure your brother?" Wah. Nezuko gulped when his gaze turned unimpressed. However, her eyebrows furrowed and a metaphorical fire lit behind her burgundy eyes. "Yes, if I have to be a demon slayer myself, just so I can find a demon and demand an answer, so be it. As long as I can turn Nachin back to human." And one of his eyebrows lifted as the girl looked at her brother's sleeping face. "And if I can use the same cure to turn other demons back also, I don't mind sharing. They're former humans, right? Just like Nachin. They have feelings too." The man didn't comment on that one, but he indeed continued. "Go see an old man named Sakonji Urokodaki who lives at the foot of Mount Sajiri then. He said, tell him that Tomioka Jiu sent you. So his name is Tomioka-san. Your brother should be fine because the sun isn't out today." He stepped back to the foliage. "But don't let him into direct sunlight. He'll burn. Then try to talk to him. He spoke to me before, so your theory about him recognizing you may be right. If he cannot talk, however, you should hide those fangs. Don't want people to get alarmed by his oh so obvious changes." Before he then disappeared entirely, leaving the siblings alone in the woods, tired, confused yet glad that both of them are still alive. After sitting around doing nothing, trying to regain her senses and bearing, she finally snapped from her stupor. Tanjiro had woken a moment ago when she was still caught up in her own demise, fussing over her like he usually did. If it's not because of his dull, ginger eyes or the whines and grunts his throat produced instead of real sentences, Nezuko could pretend that everything was okay. That her brother was still human. That Tanjiro could still bask under the sun and smile like the sun itself, so warm and cheerful. No, she reiterated. He could smile. But Nezuko will see the fangs. Will he see her failure for not being there and helping her family? Tanjiro was flustered when he saw his little sister crying, clinging to him like a lifeline. mumbling his name and apologizing over and over as her voice turned hoarse. Nezuko clasped her hand on the grave they made for their family, praying for their safety to cross over the Tanzu River. Her demon brother, now sporting a bamboo tied around his mouth, tilted his head, questioning her gesture, yet did the same anyway. She kinda wanted to laugh at how innocent he now acted. His hair was already fully ginger and was cut short because of Jiyu's first attack. It made him look like Takeo. It's a bit messy, so Nezuko would trim it. After the funeral, after the prayer, after they get away from the open field and find a safe place for Tanjiro to hide. She tied her hair into one ponytail for easy maneuvering, stood up and grasped her brother's rough hand. With a bundle of clothes containing all the food and money she could find inside their wrecked house, including a hatchet as a weapon of some sort, she took one last glance at her family graveyard and mumbled, "Let's go, Nichin," and they ran to the horizon, hoping for a new future in this cruel, unforgiving world. "Excuse me, sir." Nezuko bowed to the farmers who were doing their usual job one fine morning. They stopped their activities and gave her a smile, which she returned albeit a little tiredly. "May I take that basket, a little straw, and bamboo? I'll pay for it." "Oh, no, you don't have to. The basket has a hole in it." The husband waved his hand, dismissing her offer. "If you really want it that bad, just take it. You can get the straw and bamboo for free too." "Are you sure? My brother always said to pay someone when you ask for something. It's only right. If the good is in better shape and keeps pristine, sure. But that basket is basically trash for us." He held the hoe up to his shoulder, grinning good-naturedly. "Really, just take it. We plan to throw it away anyway." Nezuko blushed a bit at their kindness. She bowed for the second time and proceeded to pick up the things she needed. As the couple bid her goodbye and wished her a safe journey, she climbed the mountain not far from the outskirts of town. She was careful not to make others curious about what a lone girl like her was doing in the middle of the gloomy forest, in case they decided to follow her along. She did this by hiding when a carpenter passed her or making up an excuse when they found her before she could blend in. After a couple of minutes of surveying the area, she finally approached the small cave at the top of the mountain. She crouched low and peeked inside. Her heart stopped for a second when she saw it empty, where Nezuko was ready to scale up and down the whole mountain and check every nook and cranny if she had to, but stopped short when a frightened face, covered by the checkered black and green pattern Haori, popped up from underneath the earth. "Oh, there you are, Nichin." She breathed a sigh of relief. "Did you dig that hole? You look like a mole now." Tanjiro whined and Nezuko giggled. Her brother, now turned demon, must really not have wanted the sunlight to hit him. Jiyu said he would burn, and knowing the sensation itself after her first week of learning how to cook, she didn't want to imagine how painful it would be when your whole body was being roasted alive instead of just one finger. So, she told him to wait as she made a makeshift bag for him to hide using the broken basket, straw, and bamboo she got. Nezuko wanted to travel during the day too, not wanting to waste time, because, rather than waiting for the sun to come down, she could use that time to research a cure for her brother's symptoms instead. "Oh, you're too big." The dark-haired girl chewed her bottom lip, watching the bottom half of Tanjiro's body peeking out from the basket. She knew her brother was taller than her, but she didn't know he was this tall. Wait, when he tried to fight Tomioka-san, didn't his body grew 10 times bigger than he was before? She mused aloud. Maybe it was his power that he got after turning into a demon. "Nichin, you're as big as an adult now." She gestured, tapping Tanjiro's back to get his attention. "Can you maybe reverse that and get smaller?" Tanjiro rolled upward and lifted the basket on top of his head. Before he met her eyes, smiled and nodded. Nezuko was a bit startled when he suddenly began wiggling around, pushing his entire body into the bag. It kind of reminded her of how Hanako tried to stuff the whole laundry into one drawer, mushing the clothes to fit inside. Except change the clothes into a human being, and you get the gist. The second sibling held the basket so as to make it didn't topple over. Within a blink, Tanjiro was already a lot smaller than before. His face became younger, and his body size was similar to what their youngest brothers had been. "That's perfect, Nichin. I can carry you easily now." Tanjiro clapped his hands in happiness, a contagious happiness, because Nezuko herself laughed with obvious mirth. To get to the Mount Sajiri, they first had to cross the mountain at the opposite end of town. At least that was according to a passing mother and son that Nezuko asked along the way. The mother was worried about her, a lonely girl, trekking up the mountain in the middle of the night, bringing a huge load on her back to boot. But Nezuko just shook her head and bowed, thanking her for the directions. She listened to her advice not to get lost because people really did disappear there, and promised to be careful. When she was sure that they were deep within the foliage, Nezuko let her brother out now that the sun was set. He may not have needed to breathe like a normal human anymore, but that didn't mean she felt okay with keeping Tanjiro cooped up inside a basket all day long. Her demon brother stretched out, figuratively and literally, as his body grew back to his usual size, and fondly messed her hair for no reason. Or maybe he tried to give her a good job pat for climbing up the mountain without rest, not to mention carrying him around. He may be just as small as Rokita, but it was still a rigorous job, nonetheless, especially given that Nezuko was female and she hadn't been doing the heavy workload around the house for a while. Besides putting the youngest to sleep, as the boys volunteered to do so. Nezuko's cheeks turned red and she pouted when she heard him chuckling behind that thick bamboo. Tanjiro suddenly stopped short, however, his ginger orbs sharpened like a cat and his nose twitching like crazy. Nezuko blinked in wonder and was ready to ask what was wrong. Before, a red fog flew in front of her eyes, the same one she saw at their old house, the same fog of death. Her head immediately twisted, horrified gaze landing on the way station across from them, a temple made of wood and shoji door that was rotted by time. No, Nezuko ran towards it, Tanjiro following behind. No, please don't tell me. Hello. She yanked the door open. Is everyone okay? Red, 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 no. Stop making her reconsider whether she likes the color or not. Not again. Not like this. What? Hey. The demon she didn't realize was there glared at them. Those yellow eyes widened and the nerves bunched around the sclere, adding to the grotesque effect. His shoulder-length black hair was matted with dried blood, and those sharp fangs glinted in the moonlight, glistened with the flesh he consumed and liquid he drank. The beast growled, "This is my territory. Get away from my feeding grounds, brat." He's a man-eating demon. Ginger orbs sharpened. The black pupil tightened. His fangs gritted, cracking the bamboo in retaliation. The demon blinked. Something is wrong here. Are you too? Nezuko tensed up. Human. The demon leapt. She swung her weapon. Slash. It hit his neck. A hatchet. He halted his advance, letting out a growl. The demon lifted his hand to feel the blood gushing from the neck. A low rumble rose from his throat as he laughed. Not bad. Not bad at all. But a wound like this will heal in no time. He bragged, releasing the wound. Nezuko watched in horrified amazement when the slash indeed slowly closed up. The blood that was littering his neck dried up like it was sucked up from the inside. While Tanjiro still stood motionlessly at the temple entrance, the demon immediately jumped on Nezuko, who couldn't manage to let out another strike. She coughed when he went for the neck, tightening his hand and clawing the skin. The second Kamado heard the demon talking about killing her, but she was too busy trying to lift the disgusting hands from her throat, wanting to take a breath as much as she could, instead of answering back in defiance. The demon was fast and strong. She could practically see the black dot swimming at the corner of her eyesight already. She choked as tears started welling up. No, there's no way she could die in a place like. Before she could finish that thought, however, a gust of wind rustled. Tanjiro practically teleported to her side, orbs slit, and like a flash of light, wham, he threw a kick hard enough that the body of the demon stayed on the ground, yet his head flew like a ball. Nezuko blanched. He just killed him. Mouth agape, she threw the headless body aside. Well, he was a demon, but Nichin. The clawed hands moved towards her face, and Tanjiro threw another kick, sending the body to the air for several seconds before it hit the tree and stopped. Did it just move? Nezuko was frightened. That body just moved even with its head ripped off. Why you? The head talked. She wanted to cry. I knew it. One of you is a demon. What are a demon and a human doing together? Thump, 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 thump. The body had stood back up and then tackled the surprised Tanjiro. Something in Nezuko snapped when she saw her brother's widening eyes. When she saw the headless body was ready to rip his face off. Stop it. She grabbed the hatchet and swung it as fast as she could, intended to chop its torso. A fog of black wafted. She made a sudden turn and struck the flying head instead. Somehow, the demon managed to chomp the blade with his sharp fangs before her attack could separate the head in two, and hands that she never realized were growing at the side of his head grabbed her shoulders. Kyaa, no. Nezuko scrunched her eyes closed and tightened her fist. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. Get off of me, you pervert. Buak. Grah. With a loud cry, Nezuko made a wide swing and planted the hatchet into the nearest tree trunk, along with the demon who managed to tangle his hair up in the whole handle. Breathing a bit hard, she made sure the demon could not move for now and ran to the direction he was sure the body took her brother away in. It didn't take too long as she saw them fight near a cliff in the darkness. The body's leg stomped down, Tanjiro evaded. The reddish-brown-haired boy swung his leg to trip him up, and the demon dodged again. Nezuko tackled it in midair and both of them flew for a second, right into the abyss. Her terrified scream cut off when she felt a tender hand clasped around her wrist. She thought she heard a smack, like a damp cloth being thrown to the washing board. An agonizing howl was heard echoing throughout the silent night. Maybe the demon's head could still feel the pain even when the body was detached from it. She didn't want to think too much because the only important thing she could see here was the concerned face of her brother. The only thing she could see here was that her brother was fine, that he was safe, that they were both okay. Tanjiro tilted his head in question when he heard his sister let out a laugh. He felt like it sounded a bit manic, though maybe it was just his imagination. His color is black, but it's a different black from the one at our house. A different demon. Nezuko mused as she inspected the downed demon still stuck in the tree trunk that was now unconscious. She rummaged through her belongings and pulled out a short knife. But if I don't kill him, he'll attack more people. The people inside the temple's dead faces flashed. So, I have to do this. Her family's dead faces flashed. I have to do this. Her brother's demon face flashed. Do it, kid. Yet she was stopped abruptly when a voice she didn't recognize reached her ears. Nezuko gasped and turned around, unconsciously stepping back to hide behind her brother's back. It was a man in his 30s, 40s, even teetering at the age of 50, maybe, judging from the gray hair peeking from the white cloth wrapped around the head and neck. The wrinkles of old age that sprinkled his hands and the sides of his face were another thing that she could observe. And that was the problem. She couldn't see his face. A red, Tengu mask with a mustache and a beard as its decoration covered his entire face. The furrowing thick brows and bulging eyes of the mask made him look intimidating. The displeased mouth under the long nose made her stomach churn. The old man didn't so much as halt his movement when he saw Nezuko shrink away, and instead said, "You can't kill the demon with that tiny knife, kid." Greetings, Lord Urokodaki Sakonji. I have sent a girl your way who says she wants to become a demon-slaying swordsman. She had the courage to fight me unarmed, even though she mostly just threw some rocks at me. A demon slaughtered her family, transforming her surviving brother into a demon. But he chooses not to attack humans. He tried to protect her and even spoke to me, garbled and unintelligible as a new demon that he was. I sense something in these two that is different from the others. She doesn't have a strong sense of smell like you, but she said she could see the color of a living being, a different thread, a different demon. Her exact words when I accused her brother of killing her family. Difference in skill aside, I believe that perhaps she could be worthy of carrying on your traditions. Please, train her. I know this is a selfish request, so please forgive me. May this find you in good health and in good spirits. Sincerely, Tomioka Jiyu. Sakonji watched in disinterest as the girl, now holding a medium-sized rock, had a staring battle with the unconscious demon. He was here because of his former student's request, trying to gauge the girl he intended to send. The old man didn't want to dismiss it right away as you can't judge a book by its cover. Yet clearly, this girl was no good. It had been 10 minutes and she hadn't moved an inch. Her kindness prevented her from taking decisive action. Even without him taking a deep whiff, he could smell the sympathy and consideration she held for the demon who tried to kill, not just her, but her brother. She didn't even realize that said precious family was walking away from her, taking shelter inside the temple. This girl is useless. After another second of waiting, Sakonji let out an irritated sigh. He stepped away from the pitiful girl and went to the crime scene. There, he saw the brother, staring at the corpses with blank, unmoving gaze. The thing that baffled the old man, however, was the sight of the demon clasping his hands and lowering his head, eyes closed. A clear gesture of someone praying for the safety of the dead. That small act that came from the beast made Sakonji stop in his tracks. This demon. Hey, he called, and the ginger-haired boy turned his gaze to the old man. He tilted his head towards the outside and said, "Would you like helping me in digging the grave for them?" Tanjiro blinked twice, before he gave a pleasant grunt and nodded. After the proper burial had been done and a short prayer was given from the demon, he immediately scampered back into the temple. Must be his instinct telling him that the sun is going to come up soon. The old man concluded by looking at the night sky that had started to brighten up. Sakonji was still crouching and giving the victims his last goodbye as he heard the evil demon shriek in pain. He could also hear the girl gasp, making it clear that she wasted too much time and let the demon suffer. He opened his eyelids and stared at the hesitant girl behind the mask. He didn't know if the girl noticed his unimpressed stare, but her flinch suggests that she did. "I am Urokodaki Sakonji. You must be the one you told me about." "Why yes," she stuttered. "I'm Kamado Nezuko. My brother's Tanjiro," he hummed, acknowledging the response. But getting to know their name aside, it's time to test her resolve. Sakonji didn't glare. He just let his mask's bulging eyes do that to her. Tell me, Nezuko, what will you do when your brother eats someone? Slap. Nezuko stared blankly as she cradled her cheek. The old man had slapped her. He hit her without thinking. Without remorse too, judging from the glowering aura. You think too slowly. You struggle over the simplest decisions. You could never finish off a demon before the morning light. He continued. Why couldn't you answer that question immediately? You are too soft. When your brother eats someone, there are two things you have to do. Sakonji pointed at her disbelief face. Kill your brother, then slit your own belly and die. That is what it means to travel with your brother who has become a demon. She knew that. Of course, she knew that. But it's your sacred duty to ensure that this never happens. Your brother must never take the life of an innocent person. Of course, she would prevent him from ever doing that. But do you understand what I'm saying? She does, but do you understand? Give me a break already. Sakonji blinked when the girl suddenly exclaimed, breath quickening and body trembling. Her meek composure turned aggressive, and her fists curled around her yukata so tight it left creases. Give me a break. Just give me a break. She growled. I'm trying so hard here. I'm trying to stay strong, to keep smiling, to keep being my cheerful self because that's what my brother wants me to do. But I can't do that for too long. She started sniffling. Tears haven't started rolling down her cheek yet, though it was clear that it would fall soon if she didn't start wiping out the excess right then. I'm not as strong as Nichin. I'm not as nice as Nichin. I'm just a normal girl trying to act normal from all the crap that has been happening to me so far. I'm tired and I just want to roll over and sleep. She covered her face with her shivering hands. But I can't because Nichin has been going through worse than me. Other people have been going through worse than me. Heck, even the demon has been going through worse than me. That's why. Nezuko lifted her head. And even though Sakonji could still see the remaining tears in those red orbs, the determination lit behind them was overcoming the frustration. Her eyebrows furrowed and lips formed into a thin line. That's why I'll work hard. Even if I have to vomit blood and my bones are broken, I'm not going to give up. I'll find a cure and turn Nichin back to normal. So please, she bowed, make me into your apprentice. Sakonji was silent for a little while, and the girl didn't move from her position for a little while either. It was clear from her outburst that this kid was on the verge of tearing her hair out, was already tearing her hair out figuratively actually, based from those spats. But she was still standing strong. She was ready to tackle the problem head-on and not cry uselessly like she wished she could. Even if he was still skeptical, he could at least give her a point for that. I can't make you my apprentice. Nezuko tensed. Not right away. I will test you to see if you have what it takes to be a demon-slaying swordsman. Shoulder your brother and follow me. HFF. Nezuko felt like her throat was burning, legs cramping, sweat rolling, and heart hammering like crazy. He's fast. They had been running for, 20 minutes, and the old guy didn't show any sign of stopping soon. He didn't even show any sign of exhaustion, and his feet don't make any sound. She could tell already that this would be rough. Her resolve to face this trial until she bled may not be just her reckless saying and might turn into reality soon enough. However, she would endure. She would endure because this was the only way available. Her only path to becoming a demon slayer so she could hunt them and demand an answer. Searching for a clue to turn her brother back to normal. Tanjiro had been their family's backbone since their father died, working from morning till dawn. Continued by helping out around the house after that, chopping wood when everyone was already sleeping, and trying to lighten Takio's load even if it means burdening his shoulder even more. Nichin had been suffering, masked by his warm smile yet suffering nonetheless. Hang on, Nichin. Nezuko swore I'll save you, and then I'll help you do the chores even if you don't want me to. Everything you do, I'll be there to help along the way. They finally arrive at the wooden house located in the middle of the forest, huffing and puffing and pretty much wanting to vomit right then and there. She wished that run was the test Sakonji wanted her to pass, although she knew, morbidly, that it was not. It's not even the first test at all, because the next moment, after she dropped the basket containing Tanjiro inside the house, the old man brought her to the top of the mountain. Honestly, she could literally hear her knee joints creaking like an old door. So tired, she was getting dizzy. The fog around the forest didn't help her at all. Instead, it only made her vision a lot worse. Sakonji then proceeded to order her to descend the mountain and back to the house located at the foot of it. After bringing her all the way here, Jay jerk, and threatened that if she couldn't do it before the sunrise, he'd kick her out from the apprentice roster. Jerk. He is then gone, leaving the gasping girl alone. Is that really all? Nezuko thought, doubtful. She knew she could just follow Sakonji's trail of fog. It was blue. Clear, refreshingly blue like an ocean. Even with all the fog, it was really distinct, but she had this bad feeling that that was not the case. Something was definitely happening in this forest. Nezuko took her first step and stumbled over the rope near her ankle she didn't even realize was there. FWOOM FWOOM. There was a sound. Whap whap whap. And a couple of rock assaulted her face, neck, and shoulder. The vicious onslaught was only the beginning, because while she stumbled in pain, the earth behind her she used as a prop suddenly gave in. It wasn't earth. It's just papers covered by dirt, concealing a deep, dark pit, and she immediately fell into a trap. I knew it. Nezuko huffed, staring at the night sky full of stars for a couple of seconds, before she groaned and pushed herself forward, climbing up and out the hole. I knew it. These are all traps. The one Sakonji set to test me. That is the real challenge. This is bad. This is really, really bad. The moment she was free, her hand stomped on another trap and a log smacked her back so hard, she fell face first onto the ground. If I keep setting off every trap, I won't get down the mountain by morning. And she just noticed that the air around this mountain was a lot thinner than the mountain they lived on. That was the reason why she was so tired and dizzy. She feels like she'll pass out from the sheer intimidation alone. Calm down, Nezuko. Calm down. She steadied herself and took a deep breath. Think. A trap set by Sakonji must have his color. They may be inanimate objects, but they had been touched by a living being. The color must have lingered. She opened her eyes and focused. A fog of light blue whispered from the corner of her eyes. Yes, I can see them. 4 long bamboos fell on top of her multiple times, smacking her around like a rag doll. That doesn't mean I can evade them at all. GROOWWWLLL. Sakonji, who was stirring the hot pot using a chopstick, halted his movement. He watched as the demon brother cradled his stomach, staring at the cooking pan and longing. His eyebrows under the mask lifted, and, chasing the ridiculous notion away but not ridiculous enough for him to ignore, he carefully said, "Are you hungry?" Tanjiro nodded. He looked at the hot pot, then back at him. He picked up the bowl, scooping up some tofu and meat into it before he hesitantly offered the food to the beast. "Do you want to eat this?" Tanjiro nodded again, now a lot quicker with a hint of desperation in it. Sakonji observed in amazement when the demon pulled down his mouth guard, showing the usual fangs their kind possessed, and proceeded to gulp the food in earnest. He could see the blush forming on his cheek, eyes closed and mouth quirked upwards, a sign that he was definitely enjoying the good food. He even let out an appreciative hum to accompany the apparent bliss. Impossible, was his immediate thought, because this was the first time he ever saw a demon eat normal human food, and not the human itself. Yet the proof is right there in front of him. The proof was right there as Tanjiro finished the first bowl in minutes and asked for a second. This demon is really... His thought was cut off when he heard the door rattle. A step, a huff, the door opened. Nezuko came in, bringing back tons of bruises and dirt on every inch of her body. She looked like a mess. Sakonji heard Tanjiro choke and practically flew to the side of his little sister. Ignoring the fray the demon brother made while checking on her injuries, Nezuko smiled wide and muttered, "I made it back," before she slumped forward and made the ginger-haired boy went into a fussing frenzy. "Jiyo, you may actually be right." Sakonji opened up the drawer and pulled out a first aid kit, and Tanjiro immediately snatched it away for him to use. "There is indeed something different in these two, but I want to bet on it myself. Kamado Nezuko, I accept you as my student." There are a few hundred members of the Demon Slayer Corps. The organization isn't officially recognized by the government, but it has existed since of old and still hunts demons today. However, the identity of the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps is shrouded in mystery. Demons, staple food, humans. They kill humans and eat them. It is unclear when or where they first appear. They have impressive physical abilities and their wounds heal quickly. They can reconnect severed flesh and grow new limbs. Some demons can change form. Others possess strange powers. The only ways to kill them are by exposing them to sunlight or by cutting off their heads with special swords. The Demon Slayer Corps fight demons face to face. They are human, so their wounds heal slowly and lost limbs do not return. Nonetheless, they fight demons in order to protect ordinary people. "I am a trainer." Nezuko stood with back straight, listening to Sakonji's tale in bated breath. They're back in the mountain again, now with full stomach and energy. Her face was covered by bandages. Tanjiro threatened her not to pull it off before it heals completely or she's going to face his disappointing look. His widening eyes silently said, even though Nezuko could feel the said injuries were already long gone by now. "All of it is mostly scratches, but she humors him anyway. He was just trying to baby her like the usual older sibling. Really warm her heart, however, that doesn't mean their training will be halted just because of that. So here they were, surrounded by fog just like yesterday, and thin air just like yesterday also. As it sounds, I train swordsmen. There are many trainers. In different places, they use various training methods. In order to join the Demon Slaying Corps, you must survive the final selection at Mount Fujikasen. He continued, I decide whether you may attempt final selection or not. Nezuko stomped into the house, passing the calmly drinking tea Sakonji, and pulled the happily eating Machai Tanjiro, who squawked in startlement, to the back room. He could see her pouting and not wanting to look at the old man straight in the eyes. She's been doing this since the start of their training, getting beat up by the trap, coming back home black and blue, and proceed to dump all of her frustration to her brother. Sakonji didn't want to intrude, but sometimes she was just too caught up with her storytelling that she didn't realize she cranked the volume of her voice up before her brother shushed her. It was funny and, dare he say, endearing. However, they will see the smile on his face when they manage to force his mask out of its place. And that means never. ... Can you believe him? Erg. What a feisty girl, he chuckled. First he upped the traps. Not only rock but knives and pits full of swords. Nezuko waved her arms around, more in frustration rather than trying to describe the whole ordeal in more clarity. Sure, my sight has been getting better because of that. The fog I saw is a lot clearer and the speed of their appearance is increasing. Rather than flying like a feather, maybe you could say they're flying like a ball being kicked with full force. Something like that. Doesn't mean I'm happy with the way he taught the lesson. She pouted when she saw her brother nodding, agreeing. Half in Sakonji's brutal way of teaching. It may be dangerous, but the results of it are clearly showing, and half in Nezuko's safety. He's still fussing over her whenever she's back with cut and bruises. I'm convinced he's trying to kill me for good. And after that, he ordered me to do the whole thing, but now with katana on my side. She continued, it really gets in the way. I've been caught in a lot of traps that I was sure I can dodge if I don't have that thing lugging around and hindering me. Tanjiro tilted his head and let out a hum. She nodded, I know. I have to get used to it because that's my #1 weapon and protection from the evil demon. Do you think I can ask for a lighter sword, though? Maybe later after I pass the test. Oh, I also started swinging the sword around. She opened her hand and showed the blistered palm to her brother. He taught me that katana breaks easily. It's strong against force lengthwise but weak against forces from the side. With the katana, I have to attack straight ahead. The direction of the blade and the direction of the force I apply must be exactly the same. That's why I've been training on how to handle the weapon correctly. Because hear this, he said he'll break me if I break the sword. So mean, so cruel. Nachin, he's just as cold as the mountain. The burgundy-haired boy laughed. Nezuko whined. Today I did nothing but fall down, training to break my fall and get up quickly. As Tanjiro continued munching on the food while the sister told him her daily activities, she couldn't help but stare. After the first disaster of the trap evading test, Sakonji ordered them to sit down. Nezuko was too tired to eat supper, so most of the meals went into her brother's stomach. She didn't think too much at that moment. However, she realized the old man had been eyeing the oldest with a strange look, she guessed, as she couldn't really see his face and could only judge from the body language. The second oldest sibling let out a questioning grunt. He turned to her. You know why man-eating demons are called man-eating demons, right? He asked, in which Nezuko reluctantly nodded. Then don't you think it's weird that your brother is eating human food right now? Her sleepy countenance instantly disappeared, now jolted awake. She swiveled to the figure of her demon brother, orbs widening. Sakonji was right, it is weird. Doesn't mean she wants Tanjiro to start eating human now, but that doesn't mean this situation is not confusing them anyway. And I saw him giving a prayer to the previous victims at the temple too. Oh, I think he learned that one from when I'm burying my family, Nezuko answered, holding back a choked sob she got whenever she talked about her passing mother and siblings. The old man gave an affirmative hum and scratched his chin and thought, maybe your wish to turn your brother back to human is not just a pipe dream. Huh? It's clear that he regained his energy from eating our food instead of consuming human flesh. And he can learn new things from observing other people act. You can say that he's like a toddler, mimicking everything he sees. He reached out and messed the already messy hair of Tanjiro. The said person was not bothered by it and just keep eating. If you ignore the fangs and eyes, or his inability to stand under the sun, your brother is just like a normal person. This is only my theory, but I think ... the human side of your brother is more prominent than the demon side. Keep showing him the examples of what's right and what's wrong. I'm sure with that, we can retain his humanity as long as possible, and the chance of curing him will be a lot higher, the old man mumbled. Nezuko thought a bit of affection leaked from his usually strict tone. Sakonji's wrinkled hand are still patting her sibling's head, and she couldn't shake the feeling of deep melancholy wafting from his being. Fond at whatever he was seeing from her brother. The past he wanted to forget yet cannot, because that is what shaped Sakonji as who he was, honestly. This is truly a miracle. No matter what happens, Big Brother will always be Big Brother, huh? No matter that he's turned into a demon and lost almost his entire memories, Tanjiro will always be there to protect you. Nezuko cried right there and then. And, as much as she wanted to placate her brother that she was okay, she couldn't. She was just too happy, too relief. His appearance may have changed, but he is still her precious brother nonetheless. She woke up from her flashback when something tapped her thigh. Tanjiro was looking at her, head tilted and brows scrunched. Looked like when she was busy recalling that night revelation. She stopped recounting her hellish exercise sponsored by the old man in Tengu mask. Nezuko shook her head and smiled. Oh no, I'm okay. Just a bit tired. Where was I? Oh yes, training. So I wield my sword and face Urokodaki-san, who was unarmed, with the intent to strike. Hey, don't look at me like that. His fault for not holding back. Besides, he's ridiculously strong. He kept flipping me down to the ground like a sack of potatoes, the nerve of him. I have nothing more to teach you, he said, as his way of opening today's lesson. For the past few days, they've been practicing breathing and some standards form as the base of water technique he had been wanting to teach her. Sakonji was super strict at that lesson, always hitting her stomach whenever she did something wrong, and said that that was because she didn't have enough strength in her core. Nezuko was glad she didn't vomit in retaliation with how much and how hard he smacked it, though she didn't mind if she did. Serve him right. Although he'll add another punishment for the insolence. Never mind then. The black-haired girl blinked, still trying to control her breathing. It's been a year since they arrived at Mount Sajiri, and that was all he said after bringing her to another place that has different fog and different density of air. Her last lesson was to split the boulder with the katana he lent it to her. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Urokodaki saw and he's gone. Nezuko glared at the boulder Sakonji told her to break. The thing was taller than her, taller than the old man himself even. It was tied by a rope as thick as her 2 arms. It needs 4, maybe 5, adult hugging the boulder to describe how wide this natural occurrence is. And she hadn't even mentioned its mass or weight. Can this thing even be split? With a katana that, if you compared it sideways, was as big as a toothpick. The blade would definitely break. Since that day, Sakonji hasn't taught her anything, no matter how much she bugged him for it. The only thing she could do, besides racking her brain how to slice that boulder, was practicing what the old man had taught her every day. Holding her breath, flexibility, the most basic thing. Yet no matter what she did, Nezuko still cannot split the boulder. Half a year had passed, the times keep flowing, the earth keeps rotating. Tanjiro's still a demon and he keeps worrying over her working schedule. He knew her smile started straining. Worry started planted deep within his heart. And Nezuko hated herself sometimes, how her brother lose sleep over her, although he didn't really need to sleep and went to bed just because. Maybe some kind of an unconscious habit from when he was still a human. But she was so frustrated. Clearly, it's not enough. She hasn't had enough training. She has to do more. What if it's because I'm no good? What if all of this is useless? Will Nichin stay like that forever? Will Nichin cannot regain his memories anymore? Will Nichin never experience the warm day of spring? The breezy day of fall, the heat of summer, and can only experience the cold night of darkness like winter without end? I have no answer. Nezuko leaned on the boulder, tears started springing out of her eyelids. I'm losing hope. I'm going to fail. Fight, Nezuko, fight. She smacked her forehead to the stone, not caring how the rough texture hurt her. At least it had woken her from her depressing thought. You have to do it. For the sake of Nichin, you have to do it. My, how miserable you look. Nezuko jolted. She immediately leaped back and readied her stance, not anticipating someone other than her to be in this mountain. The girl was sitting on top of the boulder. Her hair is black and kinda spiky. It reached her shoulder. She's wearing a red, flower-patterned short kimono, and a fox mask concealed her face. It has the same flower decoration on the right cheek, but blue in contrast. Where did she come from? The second sibling of Kamado was wary. I can't see her color. A fox mask? You should not grouch and grumble. She could hear her pouting. That's not how a lady should act. See. The girl stood up and went to the edge of the boulder. The air shifted. Nezuko gasped. She put her sword upward. Whaakk. And managed to block her spinning kick at the very last second. Unfortunately, though, she didn't consider her to use the other leg somehow. And because of that carelessness, the girl, who was definitely younger than her, judging by how short she was, tripped her and sent her spiraling to the ground. "Awa, you're so slow," the girl giggled. It may just be Nezuko's imagination, but her aura suddenly intensified. Her cute fox mask turned intimidating and the harmless kid now feel like a predator in hunting. "If you keep this up, you'll never be a demon slayer, you know." Nezuko, still on the ground, stared in befuddlement. Who are you? Where are you come from?" The girl didn't answer. Instead, she cocked her head to the side, disappeared from her sight, and appeared at her right eyesight. Spinning kick was halfway done. The second Kamado's sibling immediately ducked and rolled, managing to evade the attacks. Yet the little girl didn't stop. She kept attacking and attacking, scattering the particles to the air, making the air hard to breathe. Not only because of the fog lingering, but the dust that will now hinder the respiration and sight if they're not careful. After the third times of cartwheel attack, along with wide swing from her tightened hands, Nezuko finally managed to get up and blocked the onslaught, albeit with difficulties. "Why are you doing this?" she grunted, looking at her attacker behind her messy bangs. The girl dropped her leg and used the other to repeat the previous tactic. Nezuko still couldn't manage to dodge because of how quick her movement was. However, she was faster to get up this time and not staring like a useless victim, deflecting another kick to the side. "Why are you suddenly attacking me like this? What did I do to you?" You did nothing to me." The fox girl leaped back. She put her index finger to the smiling mouth of the mask, giving an aura of a fake confusion. "But see, that's the main problem. You didn't do anything. And the multitudes of attacks are now back, vicious than ever. Left, right, upward, downward. Back to the left, right twice, a distraction and upward." She couldn't keep up, her orbs going cross-eyed. At one last pitiful attempt, Nezuko let out a yell and strike her sword down. The fox girl flipped backward, whamm, and landed a brutal kick under her chin, sending her flying to the sky for a few seconds before the body slammed into the earth, bruised and unconscious. The forest went silent. "You're having too much fun," another voice resounded from behind, making the fox girl turn. A shadow was peeking behind the tree, staring at the down Nezuko with one eyebrow rose. "You didn't even tell her what she did wrong these past few months." Sorry." She lightly smacked her head as she tilted her head. And, even if they couldn't see it, the shadowy figure was sure the girl was sticking her tongue out sheepishly right about now. "It's been a while since Urokodaki-san took a woman as his apprentice, so I was a bit giddy." The second figure let out a long, suffering sigh. "Fine. Just leave the rest to me." Slap slap. "Erg," Nezuko groaned. She rolled over to the side, hair covering half of her face. 5 more minutes, Nichin. Slap. "Oi," a rough voice echoed. The hand that was hitting her cheek since seconds ago was increasing its strength and annoyance. "Wake up already." "Wait a minute." A rough voice. Her brother doesn't have this type of rough voice. A stranger. Her eyes immediately opened, fingers clasped in her weapon that, fortunately, still within her grasp. She swung wide, didn't intend to hurt but to send them careening away from her so she could get her bearing back. The person indeed leaped back, though not without a light chuckle. "Well, at least your situational awareness is not that rusty." Nezuko instantly stood up, weapon to the fore. It was another person. This one is a boy. He has a peach, messy hair that also reached his shoulder. On his white complexion, his black orbs are blank and the wide scar near the right side of his mouth looked painful to have. He was wearing the same fox mask just like the fox girl did, perched at the left side of his head. Nezuko noted the mask also decorated by the same scar he had. Could it be this boy and that girl knew each other? Maybe siblings? There's this nagging feeling behind her mind when she saw the kimono he was wearing. It's green and yellow in color, crisscross in a complex pattern, under the dark green haori, like she saw the same clothing somewhere before. She couldn't quite pinpoint it though. "Who are you? Are you that fox girl companion?" He doesn't have a color on him either. "What's wrong here? Is my ability weakening somehow? Are you here to attack me too?" That was the plan. But she decided to jump in and I'm stuck as a babysitter, he scoffed. It doesn't have that irritated tone within it, however. His words may be harsh, yet it was clear he said those in a jest. "Don't lose that stance. Because now, you're going to train with me." The boy told her that his name is Sabito, and the fox girl is Mekomo. In the morning, they went through the basics training. Sabito pointed out the defect in her style, correcting her unnecessary movement and bad habits. At noon, he'll test the progress by beating the crap out of her, by doing a sword training. But really, Sabito was so strong that Nezuko basically spent the rest of her time rolling around on the ground and being whacked right and left like a sack of sand bag. Honestly, he was just as strict and ruthless as Sakonji. Then in the evening, she'll continue by fighting Makomo. Battered up and exhausted she was, they didn't care, as long as she finished the training schedule they provided for her. The long-haired girl was still questioning why these two strangers did this for her, training her. Where did he come from? So she asked Sabito one day, when she was swinging her blade and he was watching from on top of the boulder. The girl thought he'll not answer. He was silent for too long, until his mouth parted and he told her a very short explanation. We're just trying to repay our debt to Urokodaki-san. They aren't sibling, both of them are orphans. The old man in a Tengu mask took them in and raised them. That's what he meant by repaying their debt. Sabito said there are other children too, watching her around the shadow of the trees and assessing her improvement. Nezuko's body was a bit tense after knowing that fact. Kind of embarrassed because then, they've known about every single mistake she did and she felt like it doesn't show much confidence in her skills to the other Sakonji's pride apprentices. The peach-haired boy ushered that notion away by swinging the bokken on her head hard enough. She was still reeling with a headache that night. Speaking about Sakonji, he knew something happened at the day Sabito and Makomo appeared, because Nezuko was sporting a lot more injuries than she should when she trained alone. She didn't tell him anything though, no matter how probing his stare was, and asked her brother not to say anything either, not that he could. But the old man is master in reading other people's gestures, so she was sure he could picture the whole ordeal somehow. A bit of petty revenge for not giving her any clue of what should she do next, even though Nezuko knew they need to tackle the problem by their lonesome sometimes. That's how you grew up, by thinking of the solution with your own head. Total concentration breathing accelerates your blood flow and heartbeat, and your temperature shoots up. You're still human, but you get strong like a demon, he said. You expand your lungs and bring lots of air into your blood. Your blood will boil, your bones will strengthen, your muscles will expand. You'll feel like you're burning up, but you'll get strong. Burning up, even though we're practicing breath of water style. The element is not the issue. You can learn wind style for all I know and your body will still feel the heat. Sabito shook his head. It's not the element, it's your body. Your body is overwhelmed by the sudden influx of energy, hence the burning up. I see. She kind of understand. Maybe, so what should I do to get to that stage? It was small, but she could see the smirk hidden within that unmoving face. Nezuko unconsciously shivered. He unsheathed his bokken from his waist, legs stretched to the back. Train hard until you feel like you're gonna die. That is the only thing you can do, and he leapt. Nezuko wanna cry. It took a lot of beating, a lot of bandaging the wounds and a lot of fussing from her precious brother before they changed their training weapon to the real weapon. Sabito changed his bokken into a sharp katana, and Makomo wore two small yet dangerous daggers tied into her feet. Then their training regime increased. Like it wasn't difficult enough already, it's almost beyond hell now. Another 6 months had passed, making it 2 years that they are now officially a freeloader in Sakonji's residence. And, maybe just pure luck or the training had been successful, Nezuko's sword landed a hit at a particular angle. Sabito's own weapon was thrown away, slipping from his startled grip. It was tense for a few seconds, the trainer's orbs blinking in befuddlement, and the trainee was surprised beyond measure, thinking it was only a dream and was on the verge of slapping herself awake, before the boy let a low cackle and turned to her, hands on his hips. You've finally done it. The next day, Makomo was there. The tip of the deadly shoes was now looked a bit purple. Don't tell her it laced with poison today. The contest was simple. The stronger, faster blade wins. 1 moment of silence, and they moved. The fight was over in an instant. That day, at that moment, for the first time, Nezuko's blade reached Makomo first. Her mask cracked in two, falling to the ground with a loud clatter. She gasped. Makomo is a pretty girl. Blank, blue orbs and small lips. When Nezuko won, the fox girl smiled, eyes closed. It looks refreshing yet at the same time, sad. It made the long-haired girl's stomach tightened in a knot. She didn't know why. I knew I won't stand a chance the moment you beat Sabito-kun, she said. You don't know. Makomo giggled. Sabito is the strongest swordsman in our circle. The moment you beat him is the moment you beat all of us. Nezuko was pretty sure her jaw had dropped to the ground at that revelation. No wonder he was so powerful, and his strikes hit like a lead itself. When Nezuko-chan, fog started integrating towards her, covering half of her face, only leaving the mouth visible as she continued, against them too, before she completely disappeared. And Nezuko found that her sword hadn't cut Makomo's mask, but had split the humongous boulder instead. She finally passed her final test. A demon's weak point is its neck. Cut it and they'll die. However, when using a normal blade, even cutting its neck won't kill it. The swords that the Demon Slayer Corps use are made from special steel. We call them Nichiren swords. Thanks to my training with Sabito-san and Makomo-chan, I've learned to look out for an opening thread. That's how I won. When I'm fighting someone, I saw the fog coloring there being tightened at a certain point, circling them like a band and guiding me where to strike to give the utmost damage. When I want to go for an immobilizing strike, the fog will circle around their legs or arms. When I want to go for the killing strike, it'll circle around the enemy's weakness, be it the heart or the neck. The thread is loose like a wavy wave, then goes taut the moment it tells me to strike. Guided by that thread, my blade cut into that spot. Nezuko was still gaping at the split boulder, shocked beyond belief that she didn't realize the old man in Tengu mask was walking towards her. He looked at the wrecked stone, caressing the hard surface with his wrinkled palm. She unconsciously straightened her back when he turned to him. The scowling mask still intimidated her even now. "I did not intend to send you to the final selection," was his opening statement, making Nezuko tensed and ready to interject. He cut through that intention. "However, I had no wish to see another child die. That was why I ordered you to split this boulder. Did not believe that you could ever do it. But you did well." Nezuko, that hand he used to touch the boulder now patting her head. It was warm, soft, and full of care. She was aware that tears started springing from under her eyelids, sight blurring. "You are an amazing child. Go to the final selection and be sure to return alive. Your brother and I are here waiting." Sakonji gave her a mask, a fox mask like Sabito and Makomo had. It was white and have a pink ribbon under the left ear, along with 2 pink dots over the corner of its smiling lips. It's called a warding mask. Apparently, it offers protection from evil. Tanjiro was ready to come with her, was already shrinking himself and pointing at the basket she used to carry him. But Sakonji prohibited him to come along. He said there's wisteria forest at the entrance of the temple, a plant that the demon slayer used to ward the demon and sealing them inside. Sure, he may bypass them by hiding inside the basket, but it cannot be said so to the security hunter wandering around, especially as some of them are known to sense the demon presence and have a motto of kill immediately without asking. Not counting that, knowing Nezuko bringing a demon voluntarily, they'll throw her away from the final selection, and she could never become a demon slayer to cure her only family. Tanjiro was sad, eyes drooping and gaze pleading. But Nezuko agreed with Sakonji, even if she was torn by it also. So instead, the older brother gave her something as a replacement. A hair tie with a pink, sakura flower made by wood as its decoration. Sakonji said the brother made it alongside him while he crafted the fox mask. The idea came up when the old man mentioned how long Nezuko's hair was, and he was worried it'll be taken advantage by the demon if she was off guard. Long hair are often established the bearer's strength. You have to back it up with your skills for the blatant display of confidence. And because Nezuko rejected the notion of cutting her hair away, her brother used the alternative and gave her a hair tie. "I'm going to cherish this for the rest of my whole life," she vowed, asking Tanjiro to braid her hair. It was messy and uneven, yet she was happy with the result anyway. "And I'm going to hunt everyone who dared lay a hand on it." Sakonji thought she should tone down the brother complex a little bit, but she ignored it. Clearly, the old man didn't know a treasure when he sees it. "I'm on my way, Urokodaki-san." With the fox mask on her left side of her head, she clutched the katana and waved to the spectator. "Give my regards to Sabito-san and Makomo-chan." The girl's back was already turned back on him. That was why she couldn't see how Sakonji suddenly tensed. The waving hand stopped in the midair. His eyes were clearly widening, and, ignoring Tanjiro's concerned whine from behind the door, he mumbled, "Nezuko ... how is it you know the names of those deceased children?" She gasped in astonishment the moment she arrived at the entrance of the temple. The wisteria flowers are so pretty, hanging low on their trunk, glinting with a color of calming purple, blooming so healthy even though they're out of season. She wished her brother could see this magnificent view himself, someday, when she finds the cure and turn him back to human. Maybe invited Sakonji for a picnic under it, along with the lovely crescent moon on the night sky full of stars. As she climbed the stairs, she let out another gasp. There are so many people lounging around the field, ranging from scary boys with bruises and wounds to beautiful girls that look meek at first yet surely kicking. Nezuko felt intimidated with the competition but shoulder on through. She has to be brave. She won't waste her trainer's training in vain when they took his chance with her, whereas it was clear that, sometimes, Sabito just wanted to throw his hands up and leave her to her own volition. Makomo's only response was giggling cutely, though. "Greetings, everyone," said the girls at the very front of the crowd. They are clearly twin, having different hair color. One is black and one is white, straight and went past their ears but not reaching their shoulder. They are wrapped in an extravagant, purple kimono speckled with light purple flowers across the cloth, along with green obi to tighten it. They also wear the same purple wisteria flower hairpin on their head but at the different side. Nezuko feels like she was looking at a mirror. On their hands, clasped a lantern lit by a candle. Thank you for gathering tonight for the Demon Slayer Core final selection. Mount Fujikasen holds demon that Demon Slayer swordsmen have taken alive and trapped here, they said, now talking alternately. Demons hate wisteria flowers, which bloom here even out of season. They cover the mountain from its foot to halfway up the slope. However, from that point on, the wisteria does not bloom. So demons roam free, their swirling black eyes gave that statement a whole lot eeriness in it, making her gulped in trepidation. You must survive there for 7 days. If you do, then you have passed the final selection. Now, go. Nezuko stood at a standstill while he watched the two demons argued over there. The long-haired demon with weird tongue was choking the short-haired one, shouting and battling over who's going to eat the weak-looking girl. Her heart hammered under her ribcage, steeling herself when they finally decided to just go for it and leaping at the same time. She blocked the first punch and let the second kick flew her away, minimizing the damage with the blade and putting a distance from the bloodthirsty demons. It was clear they won't stop until they consumed her flesh. They're hungry enough they almost eat each other just a moment ago. So, bracing for another attack, she inhaled and weapon to the fore, total concentration. The air whispered. The black bands are now circling their neck, loosening, tightening. Breath of water, the blue color of an ocean wafted from her sword, beautiful but deadly to the beasts. She moved, making the wave danced in smooth double curves. Fourth form, striking stride, and chopping the neck of the demons cleanly within one strike. Letting the last howl of the enemies echoed through the forest, she took a large, deep breath, orbs widening and heart still pounding. I did it, she thought. The grip around the sword handle is trembling a little bit. I beat 2 demons. I've gotten stronger. All that training worked. Nezuko wanted to cry, or at least laughed in relief. Thank you so much, Sabito-san. Makomo-chan. The second siblings turned to see the last remnants of the evil beings turned into dust, crumbling away, and leaving only their clothing. When she used the katana Sakonji provided to her, even the bones are gone. It's true when he said only special blade could down them within one strike. She didn't know what other weapons could do something like this, cutting through the flesh of living being. Then incinerating them enough, they transformed into nothing, truly, like a paper being consumed by the hottest fire. Hot enough the fire doesn't even manifest. Nezuko clasped her hands and bowed her head. Even if they've killed for survival or for fun, those two were just a normal human before nonetheless. It's sad, tragic, and it's only right for her to offer them condolence even if others thought they didn't deserve it. When she opened her eyes, it was dark, dark, dark. This is not the calming dark of night. This is something else. This is something terrifying. UWAHHH. A horror-filled scream rang and Nezuko immediately went into hiding. A boy wearing a dark green haori emerged from the bushes, body shivering like a leaf and complexion pale like someone poured a white paint over him. What was that huge deformed demon? Nobody told me there's going to be something like that. DOUM. The earth shook, the air pressure lowered, Nezuko breath quickened. DOUM. A green, humongous hand appeared from the darkness, flattening the ground like a mere mud. DOUM. And the monstrosity is now in full view. It was grotesque beyond measure, nerves after nerves bunched out of its every little skin. Its body formed solely on tons of hands, hugging the body from head to toe. The said head itself was peeking under the hands circling its neck, yellow eyes with black, crossed pupils are wandering in manic glee, while in its one of many hands was a corpse of a teenager, throat crushed by the sheer enormity of its palm. A deformed demon indeed. What is that? It looks so disgusting. The tiny little hands littered around its body quickly fused into one, forming a giant hand. It shoots like a bullet and immediately grabbed the running boy by the ankle. Gee-why-ay-ay-ay-ay-ay. The boy screamed in dread. Nezuko's teeth were chattering. Scary, scary, scary. But the boy was devastated. He's flailing and flailing. Sweat drenched his entire being. Someone, help me. Yes, help him, help him, help him. I'm not powerless anymore. She unsheathed her blade, head bowed but gaze locked onto the enemy. I'm not useless anymore. Let's go. Water breathing, second form. She jumped and let her body tucked into a ball, weapon sticking out from the extended hand. Blue liquid started forming on the blade, while her tucked and roll position making the wave formed into a large circle of water wheel. Then cut the demon's hand and releasing its supposed to be prey. The beast itself looked dumbfounded, shocked that his hand is gone and food was nowhere to be found. It craned his head to the side, looking at a girl in a ponytail now shielding the frightened boy with her body. Blade glinted under the moonlight. However, its sight was not rested at how determined her expression was. Rather, to the fox mask perched crookedly on her head. It laughed, chillingly so, anybody who heard it involuntarily shuddered. Another of my dear foxes has Kumi. Sabito-kun, do you think Nezuko-chan can really do it? I don't know, but no amount of effort is too much. And you know that, right? Nezuko tensed when the yellow orbs of the demons trained its gaze at her. She tightened the grip on the sword handle and muscle on the knee, ready to jump at a moment notice. The many fingers it has were cracking like a rolling stone over the cliff. Somehow the voice was ominous enough that it sent shiver down their back. Tell me, fox girl, it started talking. Right now ... What Meiji Emperor sits upon the throne? Meiji. The imperial family is Teisho, she answered, a bit hesitant. Hearing that, the aura around the demon suddenly stopped. It was silent for a minute before the intimidating air was back in an instant, now a lot denser than the previous. Grahhhh. It shouted to the sky, hands that propped up his body stomping the grounds in irritation. The earth shook, the tree shuddered, the sleeping birds scampering in fright. The girl was also almost a second away from running away with tail between her legs. Yet the boy she shielded, curling like a ball behind her back, won't move. It was clear his legs felt like jelly, too caught up with the danger and dread, hence the ponytail girl cannot move from her position. The beast was still pounding. I've been here so long. That dynasty has risen and fallen, again and again and again. All while I've been trapped here. Unforgivable. Unforgivable. The temper tantrum continued. They could only watch in horrified astonishment. Damn, Urokodaki. Damn you, Urokodaki. Damn him, damn him, damn HIIMMM. She jerked when she heard the familiar name. Blinking, you. Her quivering mouth parted. You know Urokodaki saw. OOHHH, I know him. It cut through her unfinished question. Yellow orbs gazed back at her in contempt. Urokodaki was the one who captured me. I'll never forget that day. It's been 47 torturous years. Back then, when he was still a demon slayer. In the Edo period, the Ko era. What? The Edo period. Nezuko was astounded. No way. There's no way a demon could still be alive in this mountain for that long. Especially with how limited their food here, they should have starved a long time ago. This monstrosity, who clearly need more intake of protein than the normal devil, should have starved a long time ago. And the boy she protected was on the same train of thought, as he immediately shouted the disavowal, saying that the demons in this mountain could only have eaten 2 or 3 humans, not counted them getting killed by the attendee during the final selection, or them eating each other for survival, just like what Nezuko experienced moment ago. So, the boy's voice wavered when the beast giggled ominously. You ... You should've. You can stop the denial, kid. The proof is right in front of you. I survived. In this damn prison of wisteria blossoms. One of the hands pointed at its belly. I have eaten 50 of you to survive. After all, the second sibling swallowed her trepidation. So many people he had killed. So many innocent people lost their future and lives. It reminded her at one of Sakonji's warning. He told her that a demon's strength comes from the number of people it has consumed. They'll grow stronger, faster, some physically change, gaining unnatural powers. With the old man's sense of smell, he could recognize which one was the new demon and which one is the serial killer. Nezuko may not have his nose. However, she did have other skill. She could see. And then she paled. Her horrible realization had to be cut short when the demon spoke again. His index fingers pointing, counting invisible number, 12 ... 13 ... and ... one of it now directed at her. You are number 14. Something inside her tightened in a knot, butterfly fluttering, and she suddenly had a very, very bad feeling. What are you talking about? You don't understand. That's how many of Urokodaki's students I've eaten. It laughed. 3 of its hands covered its smirking mouth. Eyes shone with demented glee. I've decided to kill all of his students. Her stomach dropped. Immense cold washed her entire being. 13 of Urokodaki's students are skillful, but 2 of them ... Yes. I'll never forget the 2 of those. Its gazes rolled upward, like it was trying to recall fond memories, and that only made the black-haired girl's dread grew and grew. One of them is a boy. He had a colorful jacket and was the strongest by far. He had peach-colored hair and a scar by his mouth. The other was a girl, brat, whose kimono was covered in flowers. She was small and not so strong, but she was very agile. Sabito-kun, Mekomo-chan, how could this demon have killed them? They trained me. I recognize you. The orbs rolled back onto her, piercing its full of venom gaze onto the porcelain mask. Those fox masks, I know the grain of those masks that Urokodaki carves. They carved the same way as the Tengu mask he wore. Did he call it a warding mask? I ate them all because of the mask they wore. Nezuko's heart thundered. They're all inside my stomach. It's like Urokodaki fed them to me. Ha ha ha. Its body trembled in euphoria. Nerves after nerves bunched from under its green skin a lot more than before, trying to contain his pleasure but to no avail. Hee hee. I remembered. The girl brat wept and grew angry when I told her that. Soon, her movement got shaky. Nezuko's breath quickened. Then I ripped off her arms and legs. Nezuko saw red. Sabito-kun. Tisk. Calm down, Nezuko. Your breathing is uneven. Don't worry about us. Just focus on what you must do. She leapt, sword drawn forward. Roar howled under her constricted throat. How dare this beast? It sent torrent of arms toward her moving figure. She hacked it away, again and again and again. Sabito's grouchy face flashed. How dare it? Nakomo's smiling face flashed. How dare it? Her family's death faces flashed. Agonized scream tore through her mouth. Tears started springing out from her reddened eyes. How dare it? Wham! One of the hand managed to sneak under the opening, punching her right on her side. Nezuko coughed. Her body careened through the open field and crashed harshly to the trunk of the tree she hacked. Her view started dimming, black spot coloring her eyesight. She thought the frightened boy was running away on his own, now that the demon gaze was centered toward her. But she didn't really care. She was busy by the fact that the mask on her forehead cracked. It's a warding mask indeed. Unfortunately, it could only prevent one attack from the demon, and her consciousness slowly fading. The demon grinned wide, and sent other hands that reached towards her so fast, it dispersed the air. Her eyes flew wide open. She tucked. Boum, and rolled, evading the impending doom of those big, burly hand who will definitely flatten her dead. Judging from the crater it made or the crooked three, her hand rested on an abandoned sword, definitely not hers, laid uselessly on the rough dirt. Whose sword is this? Is this from the dark green Haori teen? No, she was sure the sword was attached to his hips. So, was this from the corpse this grotesque devil trapped inside its monstrous palm minutes ago? And immediately grabbed it when the beast didn't stop its advance. 2 swords, sure. This one has already broken in half anyway. She could use it as a distraction. Nezuko stored it at her person. After the botched surprise strikes, the ruthlessness of the onslaught turned up the notch. Hands after hands after hands, swinging the blade and chopping the flesh after flesh after flesh. There's no end to this, Nezuko knew from the get-go. If she could not stop its growth somehow and dash to its face, the battle will continue until whoever how long. And she's just a human. She doesn't have infinite strength or stamina like this demon clearly have. A black fog burst from under her. She jumped, barely managed to distance herself from the hidden arms that tried to grab her from below the earth. The green demon was shocked. How could she discover its sneak attack? Jumping up so high like she had a pair of wings behind her. But it grinned evilly, forcing another part of its body to grow exponentially and shot it to the girl. She cannot dodge this attack in midair. The ponytail girl scowled. She pulled out the broken sword, wielding both of the weapons with the same intensity. Before her eyes widened, she spun her body forward. Slash slash slash. Slashing the attack so many times within 2 seconds, the tendon inside it snapped. It lost its strength to prop the weight up and immediately changed the trajectory. What the hell? I thought she's a single blade wielder. The girl landed on its extended hand, running onto it. Her katana was back in both of her grasps, already tossing the broken weapon away after it had done its job. The beast sprouted another couple of hands, small yet fast as bullets, trying to catch her or at least trip her. But she just swung her blade left and right, cutting them without even blinking. At the last second of the attack, she leaped, now was completely in front of its face. Damn it, the fox brat is right in the striking range. But my neck is hard. It tried to console itself. Even the peach-haired boy couldn't cut it. Fine, come, then you brat. Its yellow orbs slit. It could felt the stumps of its leftover arms are emerging another. The moment your sword break, I'm gonna crush your head just like what I did to that scar boy. Total concentration. Nezuko inhaled a large gulp of air. Sword drawn to the back of her head is the initial stance for the skill she's going to use. Water breathing. A sigh of relief. Hey, Sabito-kun. Is it possible that Nezuko-chan will lose too? That thing neck is so hard. She may lose, or she may win. But one thing is for certain. This boulder that Nezuko cut was bigger and harder than anyone had ever cut before. First form, the wave made a sharp, horizontal line, water surface slash, SRAASSHHH, and decapitated the green demon neck in one clean cut. This sound she made ... the beast must, watching the form of the bastard student slowly inching toward it. Like the world decided to stop the time just so it could memorize every single detail of the girl it mocked beforehand. underestimated beforehand. At that moment, this girl produced the same sound that came from that other guy back then, like a sound echoing against the rolling wind. It felt like it was back at those days, when it was still a human, no, demon. Still a demon in human form. It remembered that it was a male before, weak, cannot fight back, could only run away in desperation. And when the demon slayer was onto it, he could only stand and do nothing. Could only watch when the form of that guy reflected on his yellow orbs as he stared at the girl who leaped at him without hesitation. Urokodaki, SRAASSSHHH. And his head flew away. It rolled over to the furthest open field. Damn, I'm going to die. He couldn't even talk now that his mouth is mostly gone. The beast saw the girl landed gracefully onto the earth, right near to his deteriorating body. It's gradually falling apart. I'm already too late to stop it. In the end, this girl will just be the same. The demon cursed, could only observe her sheathing the katana back. Knowing the fight is already over, in the end, she'll gaze upon me with eyes that are as if she's looking at filth. The type of eyes that are full of disdain. Damn it. I'm so afraid to close my eyes. But this body won't allow me to turn my head. The long-haired girl slowly pivoted on her heels. This is it. This is the time. This is the time where she looked at him and figuratively burned him with her resentment. I can't believe the last scene I look upon before my death is the face of a demon hunt. It was the eye full of sadness that greeted him instead. Why do you have that expression on your eyes? Nezuko stepped to the unmoving body of the humongous demon, now half gone, staring at the hands splayed to the air. She could see it. She could see how the fog around its body turned from black to the color of green, releasing the previous victims from its clutches too. The color of the normal living being. The color of the human. The fog flew around slowly, aimlessly, like it was searching for something, or someone, as it latched onto Nezuko's red fog. Are you searching for your memories? Are you forgetting your precious life just like my Nichin do? She clasped the remaining hand gently, leaning her forehead on it and letting her tears roll down her cheek. Please, God. Nezuko prayed from the bottom of her heart, watching the body turned into dust, swept away by the wind to the beautiful night sky full of stars. Allow this person to never become a demon again when he reincarnates. She stared blankly at the last remnants of the demon vanishing from her sight. Now that the danger is gone, her body lost its previous energy, heart empty. They're all victims. Nezuko stared at her hand. When she moved her gaze upward, she thought she could see the previous fox mask's bearer standing in front of her. The late Urokodaki's pupils, along with Sabito-kun and Makomo-chan, watching her from afar, behind the thickening fog of the otherworldly realm. She understands now. Finally, she knew why she couldn't see their color. Because they're already long gone. Because the color was trapped inside the tummy of the demon. Because they're all, along with the said demon, are victims. Victims to this cruel, cruel world. I'm sorry I didn't realize it sooner, she cried. Even when her sight turned blurry and throat constricting. Even when she knew it's not her fault and she was years too late to even meet them, she has to say it. She needs to say it. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry you have to suffer so much, waiting for someone to release you from the clutch of the demon. But I won, she smiled, shaky, unsteady. Nezuko stepped forward, finger reaching towards them desperately. Oh, so desperately. However, she couldn't. The images of them smiling at her got smaller and smaller. She started to run but she still couldn't reach. Because she's not one of them. Because she's not dead. Because she's still alive. I won, Sabito-kun. Makomo-chan. You can rest easy now. So please. She fell, hugging herself as the colors of their existences circling around her like a beautiful rainbow. Brushing her skin, wiping her tears away. Before it followed their owner, followed them to the realm she couldn't enter. Her sobs turned into a full weep, eyes reddened and nose running. It's unsightly yet she couldn't stop. She cried and cried and cried. I don't want you to go away. Please ... don't go. Please stay with us. Please stay with Urokodaki-san. Be the happy family the old man wished to have. He's suffering, Sabito-kun, Makomo-chan. He's suffering and I couldn't help him. Please. The bushes rustled and the wind whistled, singing the melancholy tune of a mourning family. Nezuko wondered if she had died back then. Will her spirit return to where Sakonji and Tanjiro are? Or will it stuck between the realm of living and death, wandering through the lonely night as she watched her family? Yes, Sakonji is her family now, suffered under the loss of another kid. She didn't know. She didn't know because the tears just won't stop flowing. 7 days later, on the morning of the new day, when she arrived back at the entrance of the temple, she was so exhausted, felt like her soul is going to leave her body at any second. The moment the biggest and dangerous demon was gone, the lesser one were a lot more active at their prowling, hunting for their long-awaited meal. After fighting the green monstrosity, they're all a piece of cake to her. Looks like the rumor about most of the demon around were only managed to kill 2 or 3 people and starving were true, so they didn't have that much energy to go for an instant kill. Even when Nezuko was not in a good shape at fighting them either, because instead of resting, she spent most of her morning till evening getting nightmare and crying for the loss of Sakonji's adopted kids. They were still no match. Doesn't mean it didn't sap her energy away like a quicksand though. Welcome back. The twin greeted the only 4 survivors. Wait, what? Congratulations. Being safe and sound is better than anything else. Wait a minute. 4. The second siblings of Kamado looked around, trying to locate the rest of the attendees but end in vain. No, it was not a joke, thinking that they'll come up at the very last moment and screamed surprise. Laughing at their bewildered look, no. Nobody really did survive besides the 4 of them. And that thought really chilled her to the bone. Widening her eyes, there were 20 people or so before. There's no way that that. Even that guy, the one I saved from the big demon, was not here too. Because I passed out at that moment, the pretty lady with black hair, styled in one pigtail, played with the flying butterfly and smiled serenely, ignoring Nezuko's internal thought. The boy with thick, dual eyebrows and yellow hair mumbling, or cursing like a deranged spirit, muttering things such as "I'll die," or even "if we survived, we're still gonna die in the end," which didn't improve her mood. And lastly, the boy with short, messy black hair that shaved off at the sides of his head growled low. He stepped forward and mouth pulled back, making the scar on his right cheekbone wrinkled. "So, what about the blade?" he asked. "You must first pay the cost for the uniform. Then you must get your body measured and have your rank engraved," the white twin said. The black one continued, "There are 10 ranks in totals. Hino, Kinodo, and now they're back and talking alternatively. Hino, Hinodo, Tsuchino, Tsuchinodo, Kano, Kinodo, Mizuno, and Mizunodo. What about the blade?" The scared teen asked the same question, clearly impatient. "Today, you will each choose a chunk of Tamahage alloy," but the twin totally ignored him. They just continued explaining. "Your blade will be completed within 10 to 15 days. Also, the white-haired twin clapped her hands. Nezuko heard a screech of a bird. Shadows fell onto them from above and a black crow landed on her right shoulder. "From now on, Kasugegarasu will be following you all. It's a crow that is primarily used for communication." "Eh? Crows?" She heard the meek boy uttered a question. Nezuko turned her head toward him and almost giggled. She managed to disguise her mirth with a cough in the last second. Because the bird the twin provided for him is clearly not the intimidating black crow but a small, brown sparrow. He was just as incredulous as she was, asking for confirmation. Yet again, the twin didn't answer. It was cute though. The second sibling of Kamado must. "I kinda want that one instead." Maybe it was only her imagination, but she thought the crow on her shoulder was giving her a pointed glare. CAWWCAWWW. The temporary happy lull was destroyed in a second when she heard another loud screech. The black-haired boy had swatted the crow from coming near him, clipping the wings a little bit that the bird actually fell and hurt. Fortunately, the other boy managed to caught it before it painfully crashed to the ground. Unfortunately, nobody could stop him in time as he marched to the twin, grabbed the white one by the hair, and pulling it harshly. "I don't care about some dumb crow," he exclaimed, eyes slit and his non-existence's eyebrows furrowed in anger. "What I want is the blade. The blade. The blade of the demon hunters. The blade of color change." The heck? Nezuko was mystified, was horrified, was indignant beyond measure. She literally teleported to the twin's side and grabbed the rude boy by the wrist. "What are you doing, you brute?" It was her turn to yell. "That is not how someone acts toward kids. Let go of her this instant, jerk." "Huh? Who are you?" he snarled. "A girl like you should just stay in place." "The nerve," I said. Let go of her." "And what do you want to do to me if I don't?" "You ask for it." Nezuko tightened her other fist and Buak gave him her right, mean hook. He flew to the air. The black-haired boy fell with a loud whoop. The yellow-haired boy cradling the crow and whimpered in fright, while the pretty girl just kept smiling. Nezuko sniffed in satisfaction, clapping her hand after a job well done. She was not usually this temperamental, but after 7 days without good night rest, running and hiding for the sake of her life, forgive her for the immediate violence. She was just stressed and the boy managed to snap her last thread of patience. She turned to the white twin and rummaged her pants pocket. Glad her handkerchief was not that dirty after all of that final selection debacle. She crouched and wiped the dirt off from the milky face of the kid. "Are you okay? That punk didn't hurt you too much, right?" Asides from her bleeding mouth, her anger started boiling again, yet she clamped it down to give her genuine smile. "Seriously, what a brute." Punching a girl, a child at that, so hard, she was actually bleeding. Maybe Nezuko should aim for the spot between his legs, honestly. The white twin blinked slowly before she gave her a small smile. She didn't answer verbally, but she nodded at her question. If everything is alright now, please go over there. The black one finally opened her mouth, not giving a single glance to the scary teen who was shakingly trying to get up. Nezuko could see the bruise started forming under his chin, though she could care less. His own fault for underestimating her. The other half of the twin waved her hand, silently asking the audience to where they should rest their gaze. It was a wooden table with tons and tons of black stones on top of it. It ranged from a small to a big stone. The shapes are uneven and some of them are pointy. The color is so beautiful, however, glinted under the sunlight like a mirror. This is the alloy that will be used to create your blade. The alloy for the blade that will be used to destroy demons and protect yourself will be chosen personally by each of you. So, choose wisely. At somewhere else, far away from the mountain, was a big temple surrounded by bonsai trees and koi pond with sparkling, blue water. A man with black hair that reached his shoulder was caressing the crows with the same color. His white haori was tucked under his legs as he sat gracefully, staring at the purple cloth tied around the bird's neck while it preened under his caress. Is that so? His voice was soft. Anybody who hears it will feel the calmness from his tone alone. There are 5 people remaining and all of them seems to be excellent. I'm glad that my swordmen have increased. He smiled, warm and full of hope. I wonder what kind of person they are. I'm so stupid. Was what going on through Nezuko's mind right now. She was on the way home, slowly, painstakingly, dragging her feet away. Her entire body felt so heavy, tired and exhausted. She was sure if it was not because of long sticks she found along the way down from the mountain propping her up like an old woman. The long-haired girl will totally slump in the middle of the road without care. Actually, she already fell for like 2 or 3 times as she scaled the rice fields. A mother and a son was looking at her weirdly and asked concernedly, but she shook her head and tried to give a smile, persuading them that she was okay. Keyword, tried. Nezuko felt like she was, instead, convincing them that she needs doctor, badly, and was second away from pulling her down to their own house themselves. She refused though, saying that she almost arrived at her house, a little white lie. In fact, with her speed, she won't arrive at Sakonji's residence before dawn, so they didn't need to worry. They still gave her some mochi to replenish her energy as a token of their kindness. I was too naive, she thought, wiping the dust from her forehead and accidentally brushing the wound the green demon inflicted on her days ago. She winced, really need to change the bandage soon, with all the sweat pouring like a waterfall. Even though I encountered 8 demons in the final selection, I killed them, without even having a normal conversation with them. After all the roller coaster of emotions she had, her head still pounding for crying her heart out even now. Nezuko regretted that she totally forgot her main objective in seeking the demons out, asking them if, no, how to turn a demon back into a human. She did remember it on the 3rd day though, so the ponytail girl tried to talk to them. Some of them she went ahead and trapped their body between the root of trees growing around the forest because they just won't stop moving. Alas, it was futile. Their mind was already lost in their battle of hunger, making them a mere machine of destruction. And when that happened, she couldn't do anything besides beheading them off. I'm sorry, Nichin. I'm so sorry. She was originally wanted to return as soon as possible. But her body hurt so much. Even the stone and uniform she got, now tucked safely inside a sling bag the twin provided for them, felt like a lead. After climbing down Fujikasenyama, a wave of weariness slammed her like a horse-drawn carriage, leaving her utterly helpless in her fatigue. Nezuko stopped on her track and take a short break. But I'm going to come home soon. Please, wait for me for a little bit. The sun now had set over the western horizon, painting the sky orange before it turned completely dark. She stood over the low hill overlooking the wooden house, huffing, puffing, watching as her brother sleepily chopped the wood and the old man instructed him how to do so by the side. The view of them doing daily things was so ordinary, so soothing, making all of the bad things that had happened to her family were killed. Tanjiro turned into a demon. Her trainers turned out to be dead all along. Felt like just a bad dream. Sabito-kun, Nakomo-chan. Nezuko was staring at them for too long. They felt her gaze on them. The ginger-haired teen happily waved at her, while the old man was shocked, caught off guard. Sabito-kun, Nakomo-chan. She flung the stick away and ran towards them. Sabito-kun, Nakomo-chan. With gaze started to get hazy and hands wide open, she immediately crashed onto the surprised Sakonji's chest, pulling Tanjiro's sleeve along with her. I'm sorry, Urokodaki-san. I'm sorry, Nezuko cried, fresh and fat tears rolling down her cheek as she hugged the life out of her family. Her brother let out a questioning grunt, but she was too far up into her own apologies that she almost didn't hear anything happening around her. Didn't even knew. After freezing for a minute, Sakonji wrapped his wrinkled arm around them both. I'm sorry I couldn't save Sabito-kun or Makomo-chan. I'm sorry I couldn't protect anyone on the final selection exam. I'm sorry I couldn't make you happy. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's okay, he shushed, cradling his fingers on Tanjiro's and Nezuko's hair, letting out his own tears, hidden behind the unblinking mask of the red Tengu. It's okay. I'm just glad that you came back alive. When she opened her eyes, the first thing that met her was the wooden ceiling with the low, hanging lamp. Turning her head to the right side, she saw her brother's sleeping face, laying beside her while clasping her palm like a lifeline. Sakonji was also there, writing something on his desk. When he heard a little scuffle behind him, he turned, looking at Nezuko, who tried to sit up but couldn't because Tanjiro's hold was bringing her down. You finally wake up. Are you hungry? It may be a bit late, but I can prepare a dinner for you. And no, it's okay. I'm still too tired to eat. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked, what happened? You cried yourself to sleep, he answered, putting the quill down near the inkstone. He pointed at the curling demon. You made your brother worry when you suddenly fainted like that. Bear with him a little bit. And sore. Stop that. His stern tone made her instantly clamp her mouth. She could feel the piercing gaze behind the mask, scolding her. Rather than saying sorry, you should learn how to say thank you. Instead of I'm sorry I worried you, you should have said thank you for taking care of me. Of course this isn't going to work in every instance, such as if you caused actual harm, he continued. When you say thank you instead of I'm sorry, it creates a more balanced social dynamic and gives you back power. You're grateful instead of being apologetic. You're not asking for someone to feel sorry for you, nor you're seeking for reassurance. So, repeat after me. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your hard work. Nezuko parroted. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for being there for me. And, thank you for staying alive. Nezuko, though she dried her tear duct for the day after her outburst moments ago, but it seems that she's not. As the night went by, Sakonji caressed her head while she sobbed and hiccuped, with Tanjiro's soft snore as their song of serenity. And so, the old man glared. I mean, thank you for bearing with me. He nodded, satisfied, then turned back to his desk to continue writing. Nezuko was too awake to fall back asleep now, so she spent some minutes stroking her brother's hair, waiting for the sleepiness to come back in. Nezuko, Sakonji started another conversation. His back was turned away from her. She hummed, I've been wondering since that day you mentioned Sabito and Makomo. Her head immediately shot up when those names were uttered. She saw his Adam apple bobbed, a gesture of someone choking back their imminent sob. She knew because she often did that herself. Were they the one who trained you these past 6 months? Yes. And you managed to kill the demon who devoured them? Yes. The tenseness on his shoulder that she didn't realize existed after it was gone vanished. A soft sigh was exhaled from the parted lips. His grip on the pen got tighter to hide the subtle trembling, yet voice still held firm. Thank you. You're welcome, Urokodaki-san. He nodded and stood up, plucking the letter he wrote from the desk, along with the alloy from her bag before he bundled those 2 items inside the white cloth. Sakonji extended his arm. The crow that was perched calmly at the corner of the house understood the gesture and flew onto it. Nezuko, realizing what he was doing, raised her voice. Not too much, as she didn't want to wake her brother up. Wait. Before you send that, can I ask for a request? I've made some changes for my weapon. His fingers stopped moving and he turned to her. Oh, do you? The old man plucked the neatly folded letter from the package and went back to his desk. Okay, tell me. I'll write it for you. You know you'll have to relearn your stance with this kind of weapon. Yes, that's why I'm gonna train hard these 15 days. Yes, 15 days. Will you train me, Urokodaki-san? Sure. I don't think it'll take too long anyway, as you already grasp the base. But it'll still be hell. Because I'm not letting you out there with half-baked skill. You'll die, right? Thank you. Where did you get the idea for this, if I may ask? Makomo-chan. Of course, it is. She may not be there, but she helped me. When I fought the green demon, I remembered my training with her and used her move to deflect one of his attacks. I'm not as strong as Sabito-kun, but I'm quite confident I am as fast as Makomo-chan now. There's where you're wrong, Nezuko. You're way faster than her. The day where it was anticipated that the blacksmith had finished forging the sword, Nezuko opened the door while nursing her black and blue cheek. Sakonji was not kidding when he said the training will feel like hell, even more so than Sabito-kun's training, and that said something. Tanjiro was conflicted between fussing over her and glaring at the old man for being so rough, although he knew it was his little sister's idea, so he couldn't really get mad at him. At the horizon of the entrance to the forest, the second sibling saw someone approaching. Judging from the build, he was a man in 20 or more so. He was wearing a black yukata wrapped by the sunflower pattern haori. On his head, a large woven hat overshadowed his entire face, and a lot of floral wind chimes decorated by tiny pink flowers hanging from the said hat, making a melodic sound as he walked. Nezuko was still staring, astonished at his weird fashion sense when the man stopped in front of her. "My name is Hagenzuka," he introduced himself. "I am the one that has forged the blade that will be used by Kamado Nezuko." "Aw, thank you very much. I am Kamado Nezuko," she bowed, before opening the door wider. "Please come in and have a seat. Instead of accepting the good invitation though, the man immediately sat on the ground, opening the casket he brought. "This is the Nichiren blade," he started to explain, totally ignoring the black-haired girl presence. "I forged this blade that you've requested." Thinking that it'll be a while before this blacksmith stopped running his mouth, Nezuko dusted the front porch and crouched, even though she really wants to serve some drink for him. It's just good hospitality, something her mother taught to every single Kamado's children. The Nichiren blade's raw materials are iron sand and ore from the highest mountain that is close to the sun. He clarified, scarlet crimson iron sand and scarlet crimson ore. They are metals that have absorbed the sunlight. He placed the wooden lid on the soil. His bag is going to get mud on it, though Nezuko was sure he didn't care a single bit. The mountain the materials are from, the Sunlight Mountain, is bathed in sunlight all year round, never troubled by clouds or rain. "I see that this guy is still his usual self." Sakonji appeared from behind her, patting her head as he watched the debacle went on. "Sorry about this." He never listens to what other people say. Was he hearing the mocking tone of the old man, or was he done making his point of how awesome the weapon is? She didn't know, but he indeed lifted his head abruptly. Nezuko was taken aback when a face covered in Hayatako mask greeted her. It was red, having bulging, unblinking eyes just like what Sakonji wear. However, rather than a long nose, the mask had a long mouth like a tube instead. She eeped when the man suddenly went into her personal face. If her first trainer didn't stop him by holding his head back, pretty certain he'll examine her within close proximity. "You have red eyes," he said, tilting his head. "Are you, perchance, a child of a burning crimson?" "A what?" She blinked at the strange title. If a family is a business of making fire, then they'll have a child with a red coloration. Often they have red hair. He then pointed at her orbs and red eyes. "Well, I only have red eyes, but my brother has both of them." As his colors are now ginger and not the glistening burgundy. Nezuko slowly retreated from the prodding finger, not wanting it to poke her eye. "Really? Where is he now?" he asked, now sounded oddly passionate and, somehow, mad. "Why won't he become a demon-slaying swordman just like you do? If he did, his sword may turn red, you see." "No, I didn't see Yum. Because he has his own reason not to. That's all you have to know, Hagenzuka," Sakonji answered for her behalf instead. Nezuko couldn't really tell that they're harboring a demon now, could she? He may be just a blacksmith and not a demon slayer. Doesn't mean he won't tattle to the other hunter, however. The old man tone turned a bit assertive. He spoke, "Can we move on to the sword now?" Yeah. The man in festival mask waved his order carelessly, picking up the big bundle under the casket and shoved it to the startled girl. He finally decided to come into the house. Nichiren Blade's other name is the Blade of Color Change. It'll change its color based on each individual owner. So, hurry, come on in. After pouring the long-awaited tea she intended to serve from the very beginning, Nezuko opened up the white cloth enveloping the weapon. The sword is just like she imagined it would be. It was dual medium sword, with a wide blade that curved at the tip of it. The moment she pulled out one of the weapon and held it to the air, the blade started changing its color from its base to the tip, from clear silver to magnificent blue. "Beautiful, like an ocean. So pretty," she mumbled, mesmerized by the glint. "It is." Sakonji let out his own impressive hum. "I've never seen a blade this shade of blue either." Unfortunately, though, Hagenzuka was not as impressed as the two audiences. He literally threw his head to the back and growled loud, "Grahhhh. I thought I could finally witness a bright crimson-colored blade this time. I know the percentage of seeing it decreased because you didn't inherit all the red color, but still. I thought I can finally fulfill my long life wish, damn you." The blacksmith was totally on the verge of crying. So blinded by his frustration he actually intended to tackle Nezuko, still holding the sword in her palm. which, dangerous. But her brother, who was content on listening from under the protection of the blanket a moment ago, didn't think so. He threw the cover, jumped onto the mid-leap Nezuko and pinned him to the ground. "Gah, what are you doing to me, you brat?" Tanjiro sat on his back with blank, uncaring eyes as the forger struggled to get up. "That's your own fault for trying to attack a girl," Sakonji snorted, especially with her brother right near her. "You're just asking for a punch to the face. Be glad he didn't do that much to you." Nezuko let out a small giggle at the funny scene in front of her, wondering how ridiculous it was to age that much yet still act like a little kid. Her gaze swept upward, however, when she heard wind rustled and flapping of wings. Before the black crows, Kasugegarasu, who was stretching its body out of the house yesterday night, flew inside and landed on top of Tanjiro's head. The beak opened and screamed, "Caawww! Attention, attention, Kamado Nezuko," the bird said with a loud and a bit of a squeaky voice. "Oh wait, it can talk." She balked. She didn't know there exists an animal who can actually speak human language. Parrots, but in their case, it's more like repeating the word they often hear. This one definitely has its own intelligence to form full sentences. Nezuko was not sure when people said crows are clever means this clever. "Hurry and go to the northwest town, Caaww. Go there and hunt the demon. This is your first assignment, Caaww." Her eyes sharpened at once. Full attention rests solely on the bird telling them the important news. Remember this well. In the northeast town, young girls are constantly disappearing. Every night. Far, far away from Sakonji's residence. The day before they have this conversation, a couple was walking along side by side, accompanied by the light of the lantern and shiny moon hanging in the middle of the beautiful night sky speckled with stars. They looked so happy, having a passionate yet cheery conversation. The boy told his partner a joke. The girl laughed. The boy asked her a question. The girl let out a startled yelp. The boy turned around, and the girl was gone. There are girls constantly disappearing. Nezuko appeared from the back room after having changed her attire. Now, she was spotted wearing the black uniform of the Demon Slayer. The huge word of destroy at the back of the outfit is hidden by her favorite star pattern, pink Haori. Her dual swords are snuggled comfortably at either side of her hips, fastened by the white buckle. All in all, she looked formal, regal. Tanjiro clapped in astonishment and Sakonji nodded in acknowledgement. The uniform of the demon hunters is made of the special fabric, the old man in Tengu mask explained, smiling slightly as the ginger-haired boy started circling his sister, admiring her looks. The said sister is bashful at the close attention. It has good air permeability and is also resistant against moisture and fire. The claw and teeth of weak demons can't even rip this uniform open. Amazing. She raised her hands, staring at the black sleeve peeking. "I wish I can order one for Nichin too." Sakonji chuckled lowly and shook his head. "Also, this," he turned his back from them, pulling out a brown, wooden box from behind his desk, a white straps attached at the back of it. "This is the box I made for you to hide your brother. It is made with an extremely light type of wood called mist cloud fir. And as we know, your brother eats foods to replenish his energy. In fact, the oldest sibling was munching on some dango already while they were occupied with their conversation." Her first trainers opened the lid and she saw another compartment at the interior. Placed at the bottom side of the space, it was 2 drawers combined into one for foods and the other for drinks, with a sliding trapdoor on the surface so her brother can easily open the drawer to scavenge the snacks. "That's why I also add a room for you to store the foods inside." This made the bag a lot wider, and if you put a ton of snacks and water at once, a lot heavier too. But that's why we have that training, in which Nezuko fought Sakonji while lugging a basket full of logs and rocks around. So he was anticipating for this. "I painted this box with rock paint. It made the outer layers hardens, strengthening its durability." He continued, "Even if you kick it or throw it from the highest cliff itself, it won't break. You don't have to worry about your brother getting booted out from it just because you move around too much." "Thank you so much, Urokodaki-san. You've really done a lot to me." Nezuko smiled wide, hefting the bag, "It really is light," and showed it to Tanjiro. "Nichin, I'll be carrying you using this from now on. Think you can fit inside?" He tipped his head. His ginger orbs inspected every single detail of his new means of transportation. Tanjiro smiled wide and proceeded to turn smaller. However, he was stopped by Sakonji when the old man put his wrinkled hand on his shoulder. "Before that, don't forget to wear your mouthpiece," he stated, after receiving the questioning gaze from the boy. Aw, he was right. Nezuko totally forgot about that. After knowing her brother won't eat human flesh in the near future and need to eat foods daily instead, the teen had been foregoing to wear the bamboo around the house. She was so accustomed getting bombarded by his usual wide grin, sharp fangs aside, giving her false sense of security that everything is okay, that nothing is wrong with her family, that she already established it as a norm at the back of her head. Totally forgot that other people will not think so. Jiyu had warned her from the very beginning of their meeting after all. She lamented and thought she's going to miss his warm smile in the future. Sakonji put the green bamboo on Tanjiro's open palm. At first glance, the bamboo may be the same bamboo she used beforehand, save the red cloth to tie the thing around. However, instead of a single cloth, it has two cloth tied at the other sides. With this type of hook, her brother only needed to circle the thread around his ears now rather than on the back of his head for easy maneuvering, as Tanjiro needs to eat just like a normal human, so he has to take it off very often. The old man explained, remember not to show civilians your fangs. If you have to, though, try to open your mouth as smaller as you can get, okay? The ginger-haired boy nodded enthusiastically, and, after a pat to the head from Sakonji, he finally shrunk and went inside the box, climbing the food compartment and sat on top of it. It doesn't look too cramped. Tanjiro can actually stretch his leg, but couldn't really lay down completely. If he wants to sleep, he has to do that while sitting down. He motioned Nezuko to come inside and join him, but of course, she couldn't. So she just laughed when her brother pouted at the realization. We will always be together now, okay Nikken? Okay, I'm ready to go, she pronounced, hefting the bag on her back. It's actually really light even after the mess of carrying her brother along with the food Sakonji already prepared for them. Her hellish training really showed itself, it seems, and putting on her sandals. This is the first day of being a demon slayer. I'm kinda nervous now. You're going to be fine. I know it. The old man approached and tidied her uniform, fastening the button on the neck. He patted her shoulders 3 times and, even though she couldn't see it, she could feel the proud yet reluctant gaze from behind the red mask. Take care of yourself and please, come back alive. Yes, she said, face determined. She turned around, ready to take that first step, but quickly spun back and instantly caught her first trainer in a surprise hug, startling him. Nezuko squeezed her hands a bit tighter as she whispered, thank you for everything, Urokodaki-san. I'll promise to write a lot and come back for you. Sakonji was stunned into silence, before he let out a shaky smile, maybe tearing up a little bit, and responded her heartfelt hug with his own, wrapping his arm and appears like he didn't want to let go, by how tight his finger curling around the pink Hayori. Yes, I'll hang on to that promise. Don't ever forget it. Nezuko crossed the wide rice fields, enjoying the view of open sky and gentle breeze. She greeted people when they smiled at her and all in all, just having a great day. She didn't forget about her first assignment and a possibility of demon kidnapping women in the next town she'll visit, but she's going to have fun along the way as much as possible. She heard a scuffling sound from inside the box. Machen, did you just eat another snack? The scuffling sound abruptly stopped. Nezuko heaved a sigh. You know we can't really stock too much inside, right? At least leave some for tomorrow. Besides, eating snacks before dinner will make you full and you're just going to get sleepy instead. A whine of regret could be heard and the second sibling simply responded with an awkward laugh. She knew that her brother is a big eater, even when he was still a human. Now that his demon metabolism asked him for another serving, she couldn't really scold him for the sudden need of craving more and more sustenances. The ponytail girl must that their saving will go down a lot faster than before now. Maybe she could do side job along with her primary demon slayer work. A traveling seamstress, as it was one of her hobby and skill set she has. Or maybe helping some Imperial Guard in locating the fugitive, if they do have a thing that has been touched by the criminal for evidence. Her sight has been getting stronger and stronger these past years. Previously, she could only see their defining color and their relationship with other people based from their similarity in color. If they're a family member or in a relationship, their individual color will intertwine and changed. Her mother had lavender fog as her color when she was still single, then turned red burgundy the moment she married their late father. He has red fog before, and stayed at that even after he passed away. But now she could track their last place, where they've gone and what were they doing by looking at the fog circling around, like a trail left by animals, or the string of fate if you're into romantic stuff. The distance of tracing the color down has been expanding as the day goes by too. Mind made up, she speed her stride. The northwest town is a moderate town, bigger than her hometown. She needed to pass the wide, wooden bridge, over the wide river and tons of fishermen boats to enter the town. People mingling around the street, buying necessities for their daily life or having a pleasant conversation with the neighbor. However, as she looked around the place, searching for clues and just plain sightseeing, her orbs caught sight of a pale teenager. He has black, short hair, sporting bruises on the right side of his temple and left side of his cheek, wearing a dark blue yukata under the brown haori. He was swaying. Far away look at those blank eye like he just escaped from a one-sided beating with pride shattered. Hopeless, helpless. Nezuko was still staring at him in wonder when a snippet of whisper hushed reached her hearing. Kazumi-san looked devastated, said the first woman with hair in a high bun. He was right beside Satoko when she was taken. It's so unsettling that this happens every night. The second woman in polka dot kimono continued, worry palpable from her toned-down voice. Yeah, I hate this. The only man in the circle chimed in, looking at the retreating back of the teen they called Kazumi in pity and worry. Always after nightfall, young girls are going to get abducted again. Taken, night, abducted. This is the disappearing woman phenomenon the Kasugegarasu told me to solve. The black-haired girl spun on her heels and run, promptly caught up to the slow-walking teenager, Kazumi-san. Nezuko shouted his name. He stopped. In this close proximity, she could see how right the woman was when she said he looked devastated. In fact, he was on the verge of breaking down and crying. She steeled herself and stood straight. I would like to inquire about the specifics of the disappearing situation. May I? He brought her to the outskirt of town, street devoid of people. At first, Kazumi looked suspicious, but he was desperate for help that he takes everything coming his way. Satoko was here when she disappeared, he explained, scanning the environment in anticipation like he was hoping his partner will come out suddenly and shouted, surprise. Did I scare you? His shoulders dropped in disappointment when nothing happens. You might not believe me, but... No, I believe you, Kazumi-san. Nezuko cut through his mumbling and gave him a reassuring smile. Just leave it to me. I'll track your girlfriend down, okay? In the meantime, the burgundy-eyes girl gave him her handkerchief and a roll of bandage she bought a moment ago. Ah, so it was for him? Use this to treat your wounds. Whoever did that to you must have hurt. Kazumi gulped, reluctantly accepted the goodwill of a stranger. He wiped the dirt and blood from his face using the pink cloth, watching the girl roaming her orbs around in such an intense gaze, tracing the ground or the wall with her deft hands. As they scoured the town from top to bottom, the depressed teen couldn't help but remember what happened a moment ago, where he told Satoko's parents about her disappearance, where the father got so mad he punched him, where the mother cried yet still begged for her husband to stop venting his anger and sorrow to an innocent person. She's my only daughter. The father then fell to the ground, sobbing and hiccuping, I trusted you. I trusted you to protect our daughter. And Kazumi failed miserably at that. Please. He clasped the bandage, eyes closed and tears started gathering. Please, Satoko, wherever you are, I'm praying for your safety. For the sake of our marriage, and for the sake of your parents too. Night finally arrived, still at the same day, in the same town, within a big mansion a bit away from Nezuko and Kazumi were currently inspecting for hints. A girl with black hair that reached her shoulder changed her daily kimono to yukata for sleeping. She tucked her locks to the back of her ears, leaving some strands hanging on her forehead. I wonder what happened to the abducted children, she wondered. Her mother had forbidden her to go out after dawn, now that there was another victim. She covered her small body with the cover and lay on her futon, staring at the ceiling in anxiety. I hope they're safe and sound. Soon, the girl fell asleep. Unknown to her though, a black hole started spreading from under her bed, seemingly ignoring the tatami or earth itself, making it seem like she was sleeping on top of mud instead of solid ground. It grew and grew until it reached to every single corner of her figure. From beneath the said mud, pale arms with sharp nail raised over her head, cracking awkwardly like a doll in a string. With intense speed, the hands clasped her mouth, waking her up and preventing her to scream for help. The girl struggled. Eyes started watering from this bizarre event. She was afraid, yet she could do nothing as whatever captured her dragged her down into the strange substances. Help, she begged. Pain whimpered surfaced from her tightening throat. Anybody, please help me. Nezuko's head snapped forward. It's here, she shouted, took off running at once and startling the tired Kazumi. The color just got brighter. The demon has appeared. Then, while the teen was still reeling over the fact the myth of an olden day is actually real, the second sibling leapt to the roof of the nearest building for better vision, garnering a gasp from the black-haired boy. Did she just flew? His mouth was wide open, orbs widened, it creases the bandage around his left cheek. In his mind, the spooky scary story from his late grandpa echoed. So, demon and demon hunters, they really exist. The pink Hiyori-wearing hunter jumped down to the empty alley. Head started swiveling around. In front of her sight, unseen by people except her, was fog. A lot of black fog. It mostly ranged from the ground and the wall. Occasionally were in some of the houses. When she asked about those places from Kyuzumi, he said the girl of these family were also disappeared, the demon previous targets, but now that the beast appeared again, the color brightened. It started accumulating in one place, the place where the color is the most prominent. She unsheathed one of her sword, aiming the blade to the earth. Then with gritted teeth, she thrusted the weapon to the ground. Hard is here. Stab. A black mud suddenly sprung from beneath it, like a hidden fountain but a lot grosser. And in the middle of that disgusting swamp was a girl in her age, face white and unconscious. She immediately grabbed the fallen girl, feeling a bit of a resistance from the other side. Is it the demon? They're trying to drag her down again, and managed to pull her out as she jumped back, putting a distance to the ominous portal. He heard Kazumi's steps were getting closer, a gasp uttered at the strange occurrence happening right now. Yet Nezuko was occupied by the appearance of the demon. It was a male, from the face and build. His dark blue hair reached his back. 2 purple cloth decorate either side of bangs, falling down to his mesh armor and exposing the wide forehead for people to see. 3 horns sprouted from his forehead and nerves bunched beneath it like it was trying to make a poor replacement of his lack of eyebrows, a grotesque illusion of sort. The more telling of his race is the blank, red eyes. So empty and emotionless, she shuddered. A caster demon, Sakonji told her before, when Nezuko was still trying to free himself from Tanjiro's ultimate hold. That caster demons are demons that use a special brand of magic called blood demon art. The old man in Tengu mask warned her to be careful because they are a lot stronger than normal demons in Final Selection Mountain, excluding the green demon, of course. And she will not if encounter them, so she has to prepare herself. Didn't know that Nezuko will meet one so soon. You, where did you take all of the abducted women? She exclaimed, holding his newest target closer. She also remembered that, if this kind of demons are a lot stronger than usual, he may have a lot more information about the cure for Tanjiro's case. So she added, and also, I have 2 more questions. Nash, the ponytail hunter jolted at the sudden noise. The demon's face contorted in rage, body tensed and expression scrunched. He smashed his teeth together. Nash, 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 again and again, making a screeching noise that hurt the ears. Nash, 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 nash. Before he slowly slinked down, disappeared to the earth just like he did before. Kazumi-san. Nezuko turned to the horrified boy. She thrust the girl on her arms to his and ordered, hold her and stay by my side. As long as you're within my range, I will be able to protect you. He instantly nodded, multiple times. Nezuko pulled out the second blade, holding it in a relaxed manner, though her posture is anything but that. The demon might emerge from the ground or the wall, she observed. There's also a possibility that it might also emerge out of thin air from the sky. But even if he stays hidden, the color doesn't disappear. The black fog surged from behind her, as fast as a wind. There, breath of water, she whirled, arms raised to the air and sword horizontally placed. The mud bubbling under her feet, increasing in speed, 5th style. Then he appeared. No, she reiterated. They appeared. In fact, there are 3 of them now, sporting 1 horn in one demon, 2 horns in the other demon, and the 3 horns demon from before. Crap, there is more than 1 demon. Okay, Nezuko. Don't panic. She jumped, evading their murderous charge. Her grip on the handle of her weapon loosened then changed. The sword was still in horizontal line, but now the stance was more straight than the previous semi-relaxed one. I can do this. I can do this. 8th style. Pillars of water sprouted out of thin air, drenching the demon with powerful, dangerous blue liquid. Waterfall basin. SRAASSSHHH. In this world, there is only one demon whose blood flowing in its veins has the power to turn humans into a demon. Sakonji started telling her a story after the first day of retraining for the possible weapon changes. She kneeled down in front of him as she cradled her brother's hair. The said boy was sleeping on her thigh and preventing her from moving around too much. His solution for the overworking girl so she doesn't go out and train anymore even after the old man told her to rest. This person was, approximately 1,000 years ago, the first individual that becomes a demon. It's also the enemy of your family. Nezuko. Tanjiro's eyelids slowly opened. His ginger orbs were blank, listening on the conversation in silence. Also, I think it knows how to turn your brother back into a human. This demon name is Kibutsujin Yuzan. Crap, my strike was too shallow. Nezuko nervously lamented, watching the demon's hands and hair were cut off yet not their vital points. because I changed styles in the middle of the blow. She went for another move, but the beast slinked down into the ground for the nth times, disappearing from sight. The ponytail-haired girl promptly retreated to the sides of the two humans, ready to be their shield at moment notice. The fog of these demons are the same. Sure, every demon has black as their primary color. Nevertheless, each of every demon's blacks is different in ratio, somehow. Again, you have to experience it yourself to understand. And these three devils' colors are similar, no matter how she sliced it. Therefore this should be a single demon splitting up into three to get better chances at landing blows, as he heard rumors that this creature basically doesn't work together in a group. Nezuko gritted her teeth. Sweat of nervousness started flowing down from her forehead. She needs to protect these teens and kill the demon, so this town will never have to fear again and nobody will ever turn up to be another victim anymore. She could not afford to be scared, no matter how intimidating it was, especially as this is her first assignment. Kinda put a lot of pressure there. The second sibling also requires to get the information about this Kibutsuji Musen, because apparently, if she wanted to get a clear answer, she needs to take her chance to this most oldest demon ever existed. A black fog whisper from the corner of her sight. The bubbling sound of the mud could be heard and Kazumi yelped, shocked at the sudden arrival of the demon. It was the one with two horns. Full focus. Nezuko spun, the first Zanbato placed at the top of her head and the second at the back near her hips. Water started flowing. She whirled vertically and went for a cartwheel move. Breath of water, second style. The blue liquid formed into a big circle, water wheel, and slashed the beast's shoulder. Still too shallow. Am I hesitating or what? Not wanting him to escape again, she twirled like a dancer, hoping her attack will behead his head or something. Though of course it won't, as the demon slinked back, like he was wading through the water instead of hard, solid land, away from the dangerous Nishrian blade. And she couldn't pursue him too far, she tisked, not wanting to put danger to these two innocent people. Can't really swing her sword blindly either, she realized. Hence the shallow cuts. You bastard. The demon finally snapped. The nerves on his forehead tightened and spits flew from his open mouth. Stop getting in my way. That woman will go stale. 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 Did he just insinuate this woman is a mere food? That woman is already 16 now. He continued, not bothering to acknowledge Nezuko's rage that started showing on her white complexion. If I don't eat her quickly, she's going to lose that freshness. What the heck? She's not a fruit. Or vegetables. What the heck is with the food analogy this bastard's spewing about? Don't fret, my duplicate. Another one appeared. This time is the one-horned demon, right behind her back, opposite from the first speaker. Oh well, there exist a nights such as these. The demon chuckled, putting his index finger under his chin like he was some kind of an elegant taste tester. I've already eaten many 16-year-old girls from this town. The meat on every single one of them was delicious. I've already had my fill. Well, I'm not. The two horns spatted, smashing his fist on the ground, acting like a spoiled brat. I'm still not satisfied. I want to eat more. You ... you monster, Kazumi uttered with the dreadful tone. He couldn't stay silent anymore after hearing the horrifying conversation. His fingers tightened on his hold of the unconscious girl, cuddling her closer in an attempt to calm his beating heart, but to no avail. That girl you kidnapped yesterday, Satoko ... give Satoko back to me immediately. The third demon, the one with the three horns, decided to join in as well. He appeared at the top of the roof, gnashing his teeth in annoyance. The two horns followed along, creating the previous ear-splitting sound. Satoko. Who are you talking about? The only one who didn't act like a deranged spirit was the one-horned beast, tipping his head in wonder and smile still in place. He opened his right side of the black haori, showing them the inside pocket. And there were tons of beautiful trinket girls usually wear to fasten their hair in place. It ranged from beautiful, extravagant pin embellished in gold to the simple one such as a black comb. If that girl's hairpin is in this collection, then that means I've already eaten her. Kazumi's black orbs rested on the red, pretty bow. Cold chilled him to the bone. Tears started springing out from his gloom, hopeless eyes. Satoko. That's Satoko's bow. No ... They've eaten Satoko. In the darkness of Nezuko's mind, Sabito-kun and Makomo-chan were there, smiling. Kamado's family laughed in the merriness. Tanjiro's warm smiles brightened her world. Before everything drenched in bleak, devastated blood. And Nezuko saw red. The three-horned demon decided that moment to attack, thrusting his sharpened nails as fast as the wind. She dodged, the hand embedded into the wall, cracking it easily like a mere butter. She swung her weapon, missed again. The two horns appeared through the wall, full focus. Breath of water. Nezuko ducked, immediately rolled when an arm appeared through a sudden portal near her head and canceling her next move. The two-horn used that opportunity to launch a strike once again. It was too close for her to minimize the attack. She won't make it. A leg instantly appeared from inside the wooden box she carried, kicking the demon right on his head so hard, it spun like a paper toy pinwheel. The beast collapsed with a thud and tense atmosphere descended upon the hushed silence. The remaining demons stopped on their track. Disbelief was clear on their uncaring faces. Why? The one horn mumbled, red sclear without pupils widening in shock. Why is a mere human like you? Tanjiro, now in his teenager form, stepped out from the box, murderous expression clear on the usually calm, if not a bit childish, brother. His mouth was covered by the bamboo, but the cracking sound behind it was a clear distinction. He was clenching his teeth in agitation. Carrying a demon on your back. What is going on? What is the meaning of this? One horn thought as he sinks back to beneath the earth, and after the two horn righted his deformed head in a blink, bringing the other with him. As long as their head is not chopped off by the accursed blade, they can easily fix it in a snap of a finger. He glared at the demon hunter girl, wanting to shred her into pieces. Yet now with another player to the arena, they needed to be careful. A swordswoman carrying a demon with both of them working together. This is absurd. Who is this girl exactly? Nezuko puffed, still staying in her stance for a while longer even after the demon was gone from her sight. The second oldest of Kamado's family heard a movement and saw her brother approach the frightened civilians. The human boy was tensed when his hands patted their head, while in Tanjiro's ginger orbs, something else reflected within it. Instead of two strangers getting caught in a mess at a wrong time and a wrong place, he saw other figures. Figures of a boy and a girl in black hair. Figures he somehow knew, staring at him with teary eyes. Staring at him with those familiar red eyes. Tanjiro's head throbbed. A memory surfaced. A memory that hurt his head because it was too painful to remember. Takeo. Hanako. A hand appeared from the left side of his sight, screamed, reaching toward the black-haired girl as the foul creature slashed her neck. The black-haired boy cried while he clung onto its legs, trying to stop his advance but failed miserably. No, Takeo. Stay away from him. Nichan. Run away. Takeo. Hanako. The blood splashed. His red eyes widened. Takeo. Hanako. No. Tanjiro wanted to weep. He didn't want to know. He didn't want to remember. It was too painful. Stop it. Nichan. He tensed when someone touched his shoulder. His wandering orbs rested on a girl in a ponytail. She looked worried, chewing her bottom lips. Nichan, are you okay? Nichan, run away. Nichan, is that his name? She had been calling him so. The ginger-haired boy guessed it as much. He tilted his head, giving her eye smiles because he couldn't really do it with the mouthguard still in place. The tenseness of the girl's shoulders was gone anyway, so he counted it as a success. The demon learned this girl like it every time he quirked his lips upward, so he tried to do that more often, to soothe her concern. However, he will not this time. He sensed the devil was back, the one with the three horns. He pivoted and faced the despicable creature. The word of the old man in Tengu mask from before rang throughout his mind. About innocent people and their precious lives. About humanity as his family. About protecting human from being devoured by the evil demon. Protect your sister, he told him one day, in the first month of their first lodging, when Nezuko was still training in evading the deadly traps on the mountain. And never ever shows. He speeds up, raising his legs to the air. Any forgiveness to a demon that hurts another human. And brought it down in one swift hit. Wham, wham. Unfortunately, three horns disappeared into his swamp, garnering his attack useless. Tanjiro was ready to chase after the beast. Nichan. Yet the voice of the girl cut through his intention, stopping him from his next move. Don't pursue them too far. Come back to where I am, please. Alright, the demon recalled. His mission is to protect this girl at any cost. He shouldn't get too carried away with his emotion and act professionally. So he jogged back, evading the two horns when he suddenly appeared from under his feet in ease. He kinda wanted to stick his tongue out just to spite him. Alas, could not because of the mouthguard hiding his mouth. If he didn't make a promise not to show his fangs to innocent civilians, he will rip this bamboo out from its place. Honestly, it bothered him a little bit, but as he said, he promised. And he won't break his promise. Nezuko let out a sigh of relief when her brother arrived within arm's reach. He was looking at her with a curious gaze, seemingly asking for the next step he should take instead of wandering on his own. Her lips had moved, wanting to say that he shouldn't do anything at all actually because she could handle this. Nezuko, but she suddenly remembered Sakonji's voice that made her mouth click shut. He was whispering to her, watching Nezuko, who finally managed to get up, or her brother deemed he was not a danger to the little sister anymore, therefore decided to let go of the Hayatoko mask wearer. Or because of his rumbling stomach, he wanted to snatch other snacks from the kitchen, and now was seen scolding the munching Daifuku Tanjiro, telling him about respecting elders and such. Sakonji put a hand to her shoulder. Remember that Tanjiro is currently still a demon, which means he isn't so weak that you need to protect him. Of course she knew. Tanjiro is the strongest person in their family ever since their father died, bearing all the hardest workload without even a single complaint. And now this. If he's able to protect the two of these innocent civilians, she'll be able to concentrate on attacking. Yet she couldn't help but worry anyway, because he's her only family alive. She didn't want him to get hurt. She didn't want to lose anyone anymore. A black fog slowly formed, blocking her view from the patiently waiting Tanjiro. She felt her feet sink. Then in an instant, the black swamp formed beneath her. It acted like quicksand, swallowing her up in a quick manner. The ginger-haired boy's eyes widened and moved to intercept. However, Nezuko stopped him with a shout, "Nichin, I'm going under." The oldest sibling halted on his track. She gave him a reassuring smile. "Please, protect those two, okay?" Then she was gone, leaving only the two humans and two demons alone in the middle of the deserted street. Two horns suddenly stiffened. Feeling the air pressure went down into a chilling temperature. The humans flinched back at the sudden killing intent but still stay rooted, not wanting to move from their only protector even when his expression was beyond murderous. Tanjiro turned to the despicable creature, nerves bunched from around his face, and growled low, making the two horns unconsciously shiver. The girl is gone. The girl he has to protect has gone. Puff of breath seeped from under the thick, green bamboo. He couldn't protect her. Not now. And these demons. Nail sharpened, knee stiffened. These demons took what is away from him. He leapt, the rage making his pupil contracted into a thin slit. The ginger orbs turning lighter even more. Now it was almost golden yellowish then reddish brown. It brightened like a flash of impending doom, ready to tear the obstacle apart. Unforgivable, 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 unforgivable. Nezuko looked around the darkening marsh, watching the beautiful kimonos, sandals, bags dancing around the place in a horrible festival of merrymaking. This is clearly the belonging of their past victims. So much, too much had they eaten. Unforgivable. These demons are unforgivable. Haha, do you feel the pain, you little brat? One horn whizzed past her. A complete, utter madness painted on his pale face. Manic smile was presented to mock the existence of her being. So contrast from the previous calm that was almost mocking. There is almost no air within this swamp. Your body being entangled by the darkness of the swamp feels very heavy, doesn't it? You cannot move like you were above the ground. You had it coming. Three horns chimed in, circling around her while still grinding his sharp fangs. Stupid girl. But if we can't eat that woman, we can eat you instead. You may not be 16, yet you're clearly young. So it's a win-win scenario. Nash, what a jerk. Think you can underestimate me? Nezuko thought, watching them moved around extremely fast even within this damp, disgusting mud, shooting at every corner and zigzagging move. She calmed her breath, eyelids dropped, the air from the top of the Marrow Mist Mountain. The place I trained was even thinner than here. Watching them getting closer, the ponytail girl changed her grip on her sword's handle. Rather than holding them in a normal way, she held them backward like some kind of tonfa. She then connected the two handles together and in a second, changing the weapon from dual sword to a double-edged naginata. Each side has a sharp blade that will cut through everything. One of the designs she asked Nezuko to made. It shortened her option of attack, sure, as she needs to change hands frequently if she wanted to cover all of her bases, not as flexible when it was still the dual blade. But there is a reason for this. This weapon exists to be used as a shield, when she has to stand guard to protect people or even herself. And this time, the staff-like weapon is useful in this scenario, along with an attack to complement it to boot. Nezuko twisted the upper and lower body at the exact time, red eyes sharpened into clarity. She saw the thread, tightening even faster than before. Full focus, breath of water, sixth style she unfurled from her twisting form, spinning the weapon along. Making blue water surged wide from the blade and created a huge vortex so bright in this dank swamp of the abyss. It was sharp and caustic, destroying everything around and slicing open anything caught in its way, including the neck of these demons she was aiming for from the very beginning. Blood sprouted from their exposed neck, body turned into dust, twisting whirpool, and the battle ended in an instant. Nezuko coughed once, swimming to the surface as her eyebrow furrowed. This is starting to get unbearable, the lack of air. She needed to surface, kill the remaining demon, protect the civilians, and protect her older brother. Tanjiro punched his stomach, though he really wanted to puncture a hole in it, making a gaping wound. The girls told him to leave the last demon standing if they do find a caster demon. She one day said after Sakonji told her about the existence of this type of creature. So he was holding back. He did. Well, maybe not that much. Judging by the blood spurting from the open mouth, the demon let out a wet cough. This boy is so strong. Two Horns grunted from the pain. He tried to pull back, but the oldest sibling kept on advancing. His movements are too fast. He could not dive back into the swamp to launch a surprise attack. Two Horn clearly realized he was pulling his punches. The strikes are simple, the strength of the kicks vary each time. Sometimes too hard it actually crushed his hands into bits. It already regenerated now. Or sometimes too slow to even graze his skin. Yet he still managed to corner him. Didn't even flinch when Two Horns slashed his nails at his right temple in desperate attempt to put it distance, making it bleed and covered the burn mark with his own blood. Tanjiro still coming strong. A punch, a hook, a slash, he ducked, and when the demon thought he started getting used to the simple attacks, the checkered Haori fiend threw a slow kick, in which the beast evaded. However, that made him fell into a trap of the fast kick he dished with a cartwheel side flip from the left. Body spun in the air for a second as the ginger-haired boy nailed the landing. Two Horn crashed to the ground face first, getting his horn stuck like a nail. The boy stepped on his back, pinning him to the ground. Those golden yellowish eyes glowered at him with such contempt. The air literally choking him. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I'm not gonna lose here. I'm not gonna lose to this traitor of a demon. He tried to open up a portal now that he was close to the ground. But then, bam, splat. This demon ... This weird demon stepped onto one of his hand using his unoccupied leg, crushing it good even to the bone and splattering fleshes like shredding a mere piece of paper. And after, Tanjiro did the same to the other palm, eliciting a pained outcry from the downed beast. It didn't stop there, as the next second, the boy picked him using his leg, then threw him like a sack of potato using the same appendage to the nearest wall, making him let out another wet cough. Nachin, what hap? Are you okay? He was still trying to catch his breath when his gaze snapped at the familiar voice. It was the accursed girl, literally teleported near them in a blink. She ran to her brother's side and inspected the wound on his forehead, fussing over him. Two Horns thought he saw her pause for a moment when the siblings' eyes met. Nevertheless, he didn't really care that much because he was too focused by the fact that the ponytail girl was still alive. He hacked. Was his other selves killed by this ... weak-looking girl? How dare you? Nezuko snarled. She stalked toward him. The weapon was different than before, Two Horn identified. Now it was as long as a normal staff. Not only you hurt Nachin, your color is as disgusting as your swamp. I could literally smell the putrid odor of evil, even without my Nachin's nose. Exactly how many people have you all killed? What that got to do with you? He spat. The one I killed are all women. If they continue living, they'll become uglier and nastier. Clearly, you should be thanking us. He felt it before his mind registered it. The girl had sliced his mouth, tearing it up vertically and making his jaw kind of fall over. He screamed, loud and guttural. It hurt, it hurt. With his weakened body, the pain was a lot more prominent now that his regeneration factor turned down to almost nothing. Damn it, it hurts so much. I don't care if you had trauma with the girl you've dated when you were still a human or not, you're despicable. Plain and simple, the moonlight cast a shadow on her face, blocking her expression yet somehow, still highlighting the red eyes like she was the devil herself, resurfacing from hell and ready to deliver the judgment long coming. She thrust the weapon, stabbing the tip to his left side and cutting some of his dark blue strands. The threat was clear, she ordered. Now ... let's talk about what sort of information you know about Kibutsuji Musen. ... Say. Huh? I can't say. He was trembling, sweat flowing and lips trembling. The usually hollow, red eyes shone the utmost fear unimaginable, and he was shaking. I cannot say. I can't say. The demon hollered, voice laced with immense horror as he shook his head. I can't say, I can't say, I can't say, I can't say, why? Well, what happened to him? Nezuko thought, perplexed. She saw how his black fog waving up and down, a clear distinction when someone was in distress. Just hearing the name of this person was enough to shook him right on the core. Even when in the midst of getting his neck chopped off by me, he never showed any emotion. but with only a name. I can't say. The demon was so in a panic he literally jumped and tightened the muscles on his hands, making the destroyed palms healed in an instant before he thrust. I can't say anything about it. Whoosh. Nezuko moved her body to the side with a grunt, ignoring some strands from her ponytail that was cut off by the sharpened nails. Slasshh. She beheaded him, watching the blood from his neck spurted like a waterfall with a grimace. Nezuko lamented. I couldn't get an answer again. The remaining body turned into dust and gone as it was blown by the night wind. The second sibling clasped her hand for praying the safety of his journey to the next life, for a despicable demon like him. He may not deserve a good luck or a son, but she should at least pray to the god not to turn him into a demon when he is reincarnated. If he was a human, he can pay for his crime and not getting killed by the demon slayer instead. A second chance for a living, for a future of a good life, then turned when she felt a vibration from her back. Tanjiro was rummaging the box she still carried, pulling out dorayaki and anpan before proceeding to devour the sweet snacks. He tilted his head in question when Nezuko was gazing at him a bit too long for a mere stare. No. Is your forehead okay? Her finger reached to the wound. It was still there, although it was a lot transparent than before. Looked like it already healed. Was the reason he eats now was to regain back his energy after it was used to heal the injury. She let out a sigh. I'm glad that you're fine. Tanjiro let out a fond grunt and keep on munching. Nezuko laughed at his childish act, happy that it only took a little effort for him to smile. Then it slowly vanished as she took a glance at his eyes. It was ginger. It's not his original orbs, of course, as it was the beautiful burgundy. It was the original color he got after he was turned into a demon. Yet Nezuko was sure when she emerged from the disgusting swamp and immediately went to him to check on her brother, she saw the color of his eyes changed. From the dull ginger to terrifying, appalling, horrifying yellow. How his cheerful expression and warm aura were gone, exchanged into something cold and empty. Cold and empty as the truest evil of a demon who never regret their action, like the beast she just slew. Nachin, she uttered, garnering the attention of the ginger-haired boy. She looked at him with such intensity that he held off of his usual eye smile. Will you promise me not to put yourself in danger like that again? The oldest was blinking in confusion at her request, but nodded anyway. The night had fallen and the sun started rising on the horizon. Tanjiro was already back to hide inside the box the moment his survival instinct told him to. Nezuko then approached the two civilians who were sitting on the ground far away from their confrontation. The girl was still unconscious while the boy staring at nothing in particular, skin pale and tears still flowing from the reddened eyes. Kazumi-san. She crouched down, worried at the unresponsive teen. Are you okay? He didn't twitch for a while longer, making her concern turned up the notch. His lips started to part after a whole 5 minutes. Sound almost gone. I've already lost my fiancé. He sobbed. Do you think I'd be alright after that? Kazumi-san, her head lowered, casting a shadow that obscured her face. No matter how much you have lost, you don't have a choice but to continue living with strength, no matter how severe of a blow you took. Nezuko couldn't finish her sentence when the depressed boy suddenly grasped the collar of her pink haori, making her head lolled to the side. He started exclaiming. Despair, despair, despair was clear in his throaty voice. How could a kid like you know about any of this? How could a civilian like you know about any of this? Kazumi jolted at the abrupt shout from the fragile-looking girl. She was crying now too, teeth chewing her bottom lips and orbs trembling. I've lost my whole family, my mother, my younger brothers, my younger sister. Then my older brother was turned into a demon. You saw it yourself. The ponytail girl's hand clasped his wrist, shivering. And even with my training, the thought will always fester within my mind. What if I cannot find the cure? What if I cannot turn Nachin back to human? What if Nachin die along the way and I lose my only family again? What if I die along the way and Nachin will be alone, still a demon and scared? Because other hunters won't look at him twice and will straight up kill him no matter how human he acts. But I'm not here to compare my tragedy to yours. A tragedy is a tragedy. Nobody can judge how miserable someone's life based on the difficulties they have to overcome. She slowly lifted his weakening grip from her clothes, now clasping his hands in a firm grip. Nezuko gave him a watery grimace, trying so hard to look sincere even if the thing she wanted to do was lay there and hope everything is just a nightmare. I'm here to tell you that you still have a future. You still have a life to live. You don't want your fiancé's death to be nothing, aren't you? Kazumi broke down, cradling his face as he mumbled an apology to the ponytail girl. Again and again, while she hugged him, murmuring reassurance that it's okay. Nothing to be sorry for. You're just drowned by your sorrow. If you can feel better by shouting at me, then so be it. Nezuko gave the torn coat of a demon that contained the previous victim's hairpin to Kazumi and asked that, if he knew any of the owners of the said trinket, maybe he could help her in giving them back. Left it in front of their porch because she didn't want the black-haired boy to get punched, their parents thinking that he was the reason their daughters are all gone just for delivering the goods back. She waved at him and walked away, clenching her fist when she was out of his sight, eyebrows furrowed and gaze glaring. Look like it wasn't just me. She grinds her teeth. There are a lot more people they have been killed, tortured and in pain because of him. Kibutsuji Musen, I'll never forgive you. The black crow that worked as an informant of Demon Hunter Association flew down from the sky and perched at her shoulder. The next location is Asakusa in Tokyo Prefecture, CAAWW. It screeched, startling Nezuko from her muss. There are rumors of a demon hiding there. CAAWW. Wait, is it time to go to the next location already? No but, the crow cawed, flapping its wings. It started pecking her without remorse. Go now. Wait a minute. Peck, can you? Peck, will you stow? Peck. Grab. Nezuko grabbed the bird by its neck and growled, I said stop that. I'm sorry. Please, don't punch me. The day after tomorrow, Nezuko finally arrived at Asakusa town. One word she would use to describe this city is big as heck. And so full of people too. It was already night but there are tons of them still meagering about. The buildings were so tall, the lights were so bright. It was just too overwhelming for a countryside girl like her that she actually get dizzy. Tanjiro, who was out of the box now that the sun is not hanging over their head anymore, pulled her along the crowd, eagerly brought her to the noodle stand that located at the less crowded side of town. Nezuko ordered 3 actually, when her brother was still pointing at the menu and shaking her shoulder. Bowls of yamakake noodle. The heat of the broth calmed her twisting tummy and she sighed in relief, drinking the acha to chase away the fatigue. First time ever been to a place like this, Nezuko huffed. The culture shock was enough to send her reeling. It was nice though, she admitted. After Nichin is back to normal, we're going to travel around the world to see more and more gorgeous places like this. Her happy thought had to be cut short, however, when the seat she sat clattered. She blinked when the said ginger-haired boy, now wearing a scarf on his head to hide his face if he had to pull down the mouthguard even when other people were around. Sakonji prepared these clothes for them when they have to travel to a colder area too. Suddenly stood up, nearly budged the empty bowl to the ground. His nose twitching, eyes widened, the reddish-brown orbs within it pulsated. Before long, he took off, startling the second sibling. Nezuko was ready to call him back. Then she saw it. The black fog. So black it was like she stared at the abyss itself. This is the same fog. Nezuko paid the vendor for his service and followed the disappearing form of the checkered Haori boy. This is the same fog that was lingering at our house. She pushed the throng of people away, eliciting a squawk of indignant from them. Tanjiro was right there in front of her, nails already out to slash at whoever his nose pointed him to. Nezuko tackled him to the ground, stopping him from his next action. The demon brother struggled, roaring behind the protection of his green bamboo as her gaze turned upward, staring from behind her messy bangs. Staring at the man who looked back at the commotion happening behind his back in wonder, a man with white fedora decorated by a red ribbon, which covered his black, wavy hair that reached his ear, wearing an extravagant suit that made him look like a businessman in work. Plum red orbs along with vertical pupil-like cat gazed at them, wondering. It was him. It was him. It was him. It was him. Kibutsujimusan. Her mouth open, ready to throw accusation at him. But, Daddy, a melodic voice reached her hearing, stopping her from talking. She watched with bated breath and unbelieving stare when he finally turned to them fully. When he showed them he was carrying a small child with her, a girl in a dress. Braided, low twin tail were fastened by the pink bow. Her wide, innocent eyes blinked at them as she asked, Who are they, Daddy? Daddy. Nezuko was disoriented, heart hammering like crazy. This guy. He's living as a human. Do you have something you want from me? His smooth voice and sweet smile only made her stomach churn even more. The disgusting feeling was back in a second, slamming her so hard, she almost vomited. Musen took a glance at growling Tanjiro, giving them a faux confused expression. Is your friend okay? He looked a bit pale. Husband, what's wrong? Another woman, now a lot older, approached from the huddle. She looked like she was in 20. The black, low bun she sported was covered by the lime, puffy hat that snuggled her head close. Her smile was so pure, and Nezuko hated the fact that she directed that quirk of lips to someone such as him. Are they your acquaintances? These are humans. She covered her mouth, disbelief and horrified. The girl and the woman. Their color fog. They're human. Do they not understand? Do they not know that this guy is a demon? A demon that eats human for a living? No, these are just children we don't know. Seems that they're in some sort of trouble. He cradled his chin using index finger and thumb. Might it be that? You mistook us for someone else. Then Nezuko saw it. It was too fast to follow, but she saw it. She saw how his hand moved like a bullet, swiping his nails to the unfortunate passerby, then tearing the skin on the innocent civilian open, making the nape bleed, and within a second, turning the normal human into a man-eating demon. Tanjiro bucked her sister away from his back, crouching low. The moment the man, who was walking around with his wife, this disgraceful devil, just created another victim. He just ruined another happy family life. Turned feral and went into a rampage. Her brother launched his entire body to him. The force sent them tumbling away, rolling to the ground with loud hoomp that sent the entire crowd into full-blown panic. He was a bit late and the woman's shoulder was already bitten, but it was not too deep. The sight of the wife crying at the sudden turn of event making something within Nezuko snapped, as she almost unsheathed her weapon and killed the man right there. And then, consequence be damned. But she couldn't let her emotion control her. Husband ... hic. What happened to you? Cannot let her rage blind her from the obvious victim here. So she tended her injury, reassuring her that her husband will be okay and she should prioritize her safety first. She could not kill that man right now, no matter how she wished to see him turn into dust. That doesn't mean she could not remind him of the doom that will come his way. Therefore, she did exactly that at the retreating back of the family, letting her eyes burn and sent him the very intention behind the glaring red eyes. Kibutsujimuzan. Nezuko shouted. Tears started gathering at the incredulity of this situation. So close, yet so far. I won't let you get away. No matter where you run to, I will pursue you till the end of hell itself. I will remove that head of yours with my blade. I will absolutely never forgive you. It was not too long before the racket grabbed the attention of others besides the anxious gawker. Nezuko jolted when she heard the commotion coming to their ways, jarring her from the blind hatred. It was the Imperial Guards, ordering the onlooker to stay away from the scene of the commotion. Not good. She stood up when the uniform guy started separating Tanjiro away from the new demon. They were trying to restrain the beast with their own power. It was a good intention, yet will end badly because human strength, a normal human strength without intense training like Nezuko or other demon hunters, cannot detain their kind. They'll only endanger people around and them themselves because the demon is too strong and it will eat them, killing others. She cannot lose any innocent lives anymore, so Nezuko held onto one of the Imperial Guard's waist for dear life, shocking them at the sudden attack from behind. What are you doing, little girl? Don't do that. Don't pull Nichin away from him. Let him restrain that man, she said, tightening her grip when she felt the other officer trying to pull her off. Tanjiro's grunt could be heard between the noise. It sounded like he was asking for her well-being. Only that he could do nothing because he was occupied with other things as well. That person hasn't killed anybody yet. That person is still innocent. Don't interfere with us, I beg of you. A fog whizzed past her. It was black, meaning it was a demon, though she saw other colors too. Red, yellow, green, blue. Wait, this one does not belong to whoever demon besides Muzan was. These colors were actually Yuwa. What is this? I can't see my surrounding. Then suddenly, the town fell into a silent hush. The bright town turned dark for a moment before it was covered by a lot of patterns, for the lack of better word. Colorful flower, lines or waves, patterns that she saw in a kimono. Beautiful, enchanting. The officer she grabbed onto was nowhere to be found and she stumbled at the abrupt loss of her support. An illusion. What is this? She stood near her brother and the newly turned beast. Dual swords are out and ready to use. Is this some sort of attack? That Muzan sent to kill them both, nipping the bud right on the root before it could grow into an annoyance. However, the one who approached her was nothing evil like she thought it was. They are still demons, sure, yet they didn't look aggressive. Well, the pretty woman with a low bun and pretty kimono doesn't look aggressive. The male student with a short lime hair with a black highlight at the bottom, on the other hand, was glaring at her with such fury. Nezuko was wondering if he hates her, a literal stranger at that. The woman spoke. Her voice was soft and alluring. The pink haori wearer felt like she was listening to a lullaby. Even the one who has turned into a demon, you still refer them as a person. And you are trying to save him. Her sight rested at Tanjiro, who was watching the conversation with blank eyes, now sitting at the demon's back casually. Though his stiffening hands on the nape and the legs were a clear distinction, he was still committed in his job at restraining the struggling man. He looked a lot calmer now that Muzan is nowhere to be found. Was your conviction come because of your brother's condition? She shifted her body, blocking the ginger-haired boy from the view of the curious interrogators. What of it? She scowled, lifted her chin in defiance. Demons were human too. My brother, this man, even you too. What's wrong if I have sympathy for them? The woman actually smiled at her word, happy, though the male student was scowling at her blatant shows of disrespect. Then I shall lend you a hand as well. She cradled her bloody hand and explained, I may be a demon, but I'm also a doctor. I want to eradicate that man as much as you do. That man that called himself Kibutsuji Muzan. In another place at the same town, Muzan, after telling his wife that he wanted to ask the officers about the commotion they witnessed just now, a little white lie, was now standing in the middle of the empty back alley. Behind him were 3 corpses of unfortunate civilian that accidentally bumped into him, annoying him further when it was clear he was already in a bad mood. However, the man didn't care. He never cares about the life of a pitiful human when he was a creature that closes to perfection himself. Nobody could ever surpass him and nobody could ever kill him. He snapped his finger loud and clear, destroying the corpse in a plume of smoke and summoning 2 of his subordinates. What is your bidding, my lord? They asked, bowing low. I want you to kill that demon hunter. A girl in a ponytail with burgundy eyes, her plum-red orbs shone deadly under the shadow of his fedora. Bring her head to me, whatever it takes. Nezuko's version of this skill is a little bit different than canon. Tanjiro. In canon, Tanjiro used this technique by making a barrier around him as a shield. But with Nezuko's double-edged Naginata, she can control the skill whichever way she wants. She's using the weapon like a fan. And by spinning the weapon then pointed that spinning weapon to somewhere else, she can launch the whirlpool like a bullet, directly pointing the skill to the demon. She didn't use this version of a move because there are 2 demons who bounced around the place and coming at her from a different angle. If there's only one, she can use this version because, even if it misses, the current will still pull the demon towards the whirlpool. When people want to chat and unload their problem to you, sometimes they just want someone to listen. So when you say something like man, just be glad that you have this, and this, or remember, other people out there have a lot more serious problem than you. Rather than caring, you'll sound like a callous person. Of course, they knew other people who suffered worse exist. But that doesn't mean their problem will disappear the moment they knew about that fact. That person worked twice as long as you, yeah. Doesn't mean my sore back will be gone just because you said that. Just stay silent, listen to them. If they don't want any opinion, say something like you feel better now. Or what do you want to do about this problem then? If they do want your opinion, give them encouragement as best as you can. Or something that you yourself may do, though they don't have to do it if they think that will not solve their problem. As long as you didn't say something like the previous statement. Honestly, people will only feel worse if you say that, divided by. Setting that aside, I like the manga version, that Nezuko was forced to go down into the swamp, instead of willingly went inside like how they portrayed it in the anime version. And I also realized that canon, Tanjiro's burn mark changed from a normal burn mark to the red mark after his encounter with the green demon in final selection arc, where his forehead was bleeding and all. You can actually see the difference in between episode 4 to 5 of the anime too. Was the wound the reason why the burn mark changed? Because the blood smeared it. He keeps bleeding from his forehead like Edward from Fullmetal Alchemist every time he fights, so maybe that's the reason why #no it's not D. And of course this is a reverse Rolo. Tanjiro cannot get the mark as Nezuko was the one who fought the demon and got injured. Then while I wrote this chapter I realized, oh yeah, canon. Nezuko actually got the same wound here too. So I decided, here it is. The moment Tanjiro's scar changed from the normal burn to something more cool. D. Also, I don't really know if the man who almost killed Muzan really did have burgundy eyes like Nezuko. But I mean ... we already know he has burgundy hair like Tanjiro, so there's a high chance he also had the same eyes color. Ike man, I just need a valid reason why Muzan need to kill Nezuko as she didn't wear the earrings. D. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through what if Tanjiro became demon and Nezuko demon slayer. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to Noverp13 for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on ff.net for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Fanfic Fantasy for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.